Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Institution Innovation Council at Symbiosis Center for Distance Learning, I'm delighted to welcome you all to this insightful session on incubation opportunities at early stage entrepreneurs. Today, we have special guest with us who has been at forefront of startup ecosystem for over a decade. We are honored to have Mr. Ismail Akbani, the CEO of AIC Mahindra, join us for this session. Mr. Ismail Akbani has an impressive background and extensive experience in entrepreneurial ecosystem. He has worked closely with over 100 startups and has played a significant role in their growth and success. His journey began as a product design engineer and he soon transitions to the entrepreneurial ecosystem where he has made remarkable contributions. Mr. Akbani's qualifications include an MTech in design, an MBA in business analytics, and a diploma in entrepreneurship from EDII. He has held several prominent positions, including the head of incubation and linkage at Symbiosis Technology Business Incubator and director at Artisan Ventures. He is also a consultant at Vadvani Foundation. In recognition of his contributions to promoting entrepreneurial spirit among youth, Mr. Akbani was honored with Most Influential Person of India Award by Hum Foundation. He has been an invited speaker, jury member, mentor for various prestigious organizations such as IIT Bombay, IIT Goa, IIT Kharagpur, IEEE, Hong Kong Startup Fizz, Babson College Summit, Rotary Club, and Ministry of Education's Innovation Cell. In today's session, Mr. Akbani will provide valuable insights into opportunities available for students and faculty members in accelerators and incubation programs. He will discuss the pathway to support and grow innovation ideas, the role of incubators in the entrepreneurial journey, and how early stage entrepreneurs can leverage these opportunities for success. Mr. Akbani, we are thrilled to have you with us today. Now the virtual podium is yours.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be with the aspiring entrepreneur students and especially faculty, if there are any who are interested in entrepreneurship and want to pursue their startup journey. Right? And thank you for this nice words and a nice introduction, and also for this good opportunity. For
Thank
me,
you.
it feels like coming back to home because I spent 12 years at Symbiosis University before I moved on to Mahindra. So, and I think when I was a Symbiosis, I used to do this often at every Symbiosis institute, every Symbiosis constituent, almost every year I used to do. But I think after a gap of 2 years, I'm coming back to do a session like this at Symbiosis. It's a topic that is very close to, you know, the way the ecosystem is now progressing, because we all talk about startup India, and creating greater startup economy, supporting startups, and all those things. But a major element, I would say, or major dimension to this is the entire incubation ecosystem that has been growing, which rarely gets talked about. And that's why I'm happy that we are talking about this topic today. Okay, one thing that I'm actually not quite well since morning today, so I'm in a way not in my full zone. I'll probably take 5 10 minutes to get there where I'm totally charged up. But then, if I'm charged myself, I would have started right in the beginning with a very high note. But since I'm not, the onus lies on the audience now to help me reach there. Right. The first thing I want is that I think I mean if I had to talk only to Dr. Sunita, I would have done this session on a call, right? So if I'm coming on a Zoom call on a video call, I would expect that to see at least some faces on the screen, because it's been now 4 years that we were pushed into the pandemic and we were forced to move virtual and start to adopt virtual technologies. And initial days, I remember 2020, 2021, people were not comfortable. We did not. We were scared. We felt very awkward and weird coming online, turning our cameras on. But now I think it's becoming a norm for us. It's kind of the regular system. By now, we all should be comfortable coming online and having our cameras on. So that's the bare minimum I expect, especially if you're attending a session, any session, not a session like this, because Number one, if I'm only talking to a blank screen, it's difficult for me to keep my energy for the next 90 minutes. Starts feeling like I'm talking to myself after a while. And any speaker, any teacher, any trainer that comes, they'll tell you that they draw their energy from the audience, right? And I think Dr. Sunita would also agree to this as a faculty. When you go to the classroom, is the students in the class, is that energy that we feed on. We are energy vampires in that sense, that we feed on the energy of the students, and that energy is what drives us.
Yes,
But in the virtual world, unfortunately, that's missing. The least
it's
we can.
always true, sir. It's always true. So we'll request all
Yeah.
participants to switch on their cameras.
Yeah. If not all, at least I can say 8, 10 people so that I know, okay,
Yeah.
I'm talking to some living human beings. I'm not talking to just a Zoom screen over there. And I have, so yes, good. Thank you so much. Who's this?
Right, right. Thank you, Apsana.
Himanshi
Thank you,
here.
Himanshi,
Yep, Sarah.
Milind.
Great, good. Now you see, now suddenly my face is glowing up. I feel that energy that yes, there are people who actually listening
Shweta.
to me. Otherwise, I keep thinking that people actually listening to me, or they just logged in, kept their phone aside, and they're doing some other work. I'm just talking under this hallucination that people are listening to me.
Yes,
Anyways, good.
but
Good
your mic
afternoon.
is switched on. Yes.
Okay, good, good. I see some people are turning on slowly, and I think this is a norm in official meetings or corporate meetings, wherever we work. This is becoming a norm, right? And I see there also a lot of time people. So as they mentioned, I'm a part of Advani Foundation, also the consultant. I'm not very active there right now, but there was a time when I used to do a lot of sessions, a lot of mentoring for them, and we had associate director there. I forget her name, Niharika, I think, if I'm not wrong. And whenever we used to launch a cohort, online cohort, we used to do 50 entrepreneurs, 100 entrepreneurs. We would take them on a 14 weeks journey of their entire startup journey. The first induction, Niharika would come and she would make a statement. She would say that, you know, uh, if you are not wearing clothes, you can keep your cameras off. Otherwise, please turn the camera on. The moment she would say, suddenly half of the cameras would turn on, right? But she had her own way of making, because otherwise it becomes very difficult. Anyways, the other thing I want you is because see, the topic about incubation, I can finish in 10 minutes also. I can go on for 1 hour also. I have some slides. I have deleted some of the slides actually that I usually use, but still I'll try to cover as much as I can. But what I'll cover, how much I'll cover, and in what way I'll cover will depend on the response I get from your side. Okay. If I feel after 20, 30 minutes that nobody's interested, people are just getting bored, I'll shut down my PPT and I'll start sharing my screen. We'll play some music on YouTube together. We'll watch some dance, and we'll get with the done with the session, right? Is that okay? So before I begin, I want to ensure that everybody is awake over here, right? So I want all of you to type one word in the chat box. Normally, when we meet, we greet people, right? Hi, hello, good afternoon, good evening. But the catch here is, since we're talking about innovation, we're talking about entrepreneurship, startups, doing something new. I don't want your regular hi, hello, good afternoon, how are you, right? One creative word I want to see. And how many people are there? There are like 70 over here. So I'm assuming if I remove the organizing team and myself, at least 65 participants are there. So I need at least 30 of those. And I think are the okay. Yeah, good. Okay, I'm getting everything on the direct chat. I think somebody needs to change the chat settings so that everybody can see the chat. Or is it locked? Participants can chat with everyone. Yeah, now
Yeah.
I.
So you need that chats exclusives to you.
No, 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 no. I want everybody to see the chats. Okay. Now when you're typing the chat box, just make sure the chat box, there is an option to everyone. You select to everyone, then put the chat. Otherwise, only I can see this. Right?
Okay. Okay.
Good. I see some Rakesh, Shivam, Anuj. Yeah, now it's starting to come. Siddharth. Interesting. Unless there are 30 messages, I'm not going ahead. The reason is, one is it gives me energy. Second, I have been an organizer. I do a lot of events like this. I've been a faculty also. And I have been to events where Ajkal there are some bots. So what happens, you run that bot on Zoom, and that when you look at the participant, there are only 10 participants attending, but when you look at the Zoom participant number, it will show you 100, it will show you 500, right? And it will show you 100 participant list also, fake participant list in the Zoom. But actually there are only 10, 12 attending, right? And the easiest way to catch the bots is I ask people to comment. So I want to make sure how many of you are genuine participants. Has Dr. Sunita arranged for a bot here? Is she trying to do that? So I just want to make sure that she's not doing anything like
Yes.
that. Interesting. Good. So are you guys ready? The topic is about incubation and acceleration opportunities for students, faculty, early stage startups, though, because it's a topic given by IIC, so they have to follow that topic. But I'm going to keep it general, incubation and acceleration opportunities in general, because irrespective of whether it's student, it's faculty, it's early stage or startup, things remain the same. When you go to incubator, incubator does not differentiate in, whether you are a faculty or a student, right? The incubator only looks at the idea, the merit of the idea, the potential of the idea, and the stage where you are at, right? Irrespective of what your age is, what your background is, what your qualification is, what your profession is, what your designation or title is. Okay. So we'll look at from that perspective. Feel free to ask a lot of questions in between. Okay. And ask me a lot of stories wherever I say, ask me a lot of examples, because I have a lot of stories to share, because, but I keep forgetting, and I sometimes as a faculty, I tend to stick to the PPT. There's a lot in my mind that's not on the PowerPoint that I want to share, but I keep forgetting. Okay, so you have to probe me, you have to keep disturbing me in between and ask for things, and that's where the real fun will come. Okay. Chalo, let me go to my slideshow. Where is my PowerPoint? Did I close my PowerPoint? Oh, yeah, it is visible to everyone. So I need to share it again because I have to turn on the as well. Yes, where is this? Yeah. Okay, I hope the screen is visible.
Yes, it's visible.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Good. So, okay, once again, good afternoon. As you know, my name is Ismail Akbani. I work with AIC Mahindra as a CEO. AIC Mahindra is the Atal Incubation Center at Mahindra University, Hyderabad, established by Mahindra University, jointly funded, supported by uh, Atal Innovation Mission under Niti Aayog Government of India. We are a full-fledged incubation center over here. I'll talk more about AIC Mahindra as we go ahead, right? The topic I know we're going to talk about is the incubation opportunity. Do there's incubation. When I say incubation, it's also incubation, acceleration, everything is covered. I'm using the word incubation to include acceleration also here. Okay. Cool. So what's on the menu before we go? I just want to give quick snapshot of what all I intend to talk about. Not in that order, by the way. The order will change. I'll go randomly. There are slides. I'll sometimes skip the slides. I'll sometimes talk about what's not on the slides. I'll change the order of the slides. But more or less, this is what we're going to talk about today. I want to talk about the what, why, and how of the incubation system, right? So what are incubators? Some of you might know it, but I still think that there might be a few of you who are here listening to the word incubator for the first time, or may have heard the word incubator but don't actually know what an incubator is, because we do a lot of call for incubation. A lot of startups apply. Recently our call for incubation is going on. I got more than 150 applications, and when I'm screening, there are at least 20 to 30 applications. When I see, I'm like, these people don't even know what an incubator is, what an incubation is, and they're still applying. So that happens. And you cannot blame people, because this is something that's a very new concept. It's a very new industry or ecosystem that has emerged. So a lot of us don't know. So we'll talk about what incubators are, what are the types of incubator, what to expect from the incubator, right? Because that also is very important. What not to expect from incubators. Nobody talks about that, but I want to talk about that as well. Right? Why does the government promote so many incubators? Why should an entrepreneur consider joining an incubator, right? And then how do incubators support nurture startups? How to decide? This is a very important aspect, that there are so many incubators, around 1,000 incubators they say now in the country, right? But how do you choose a right incubator? First is whether you should go for incubator, if you should join an incubator, and if you want to join, how should you select the incubator? And then at the last, because I come from AIC Mahindra, so of course I'm going to plug in a little bit of how, if somebody is interested, there's a match. If AIC Mahindra fits on the parameters on the checklist of you deciding how to join an incubator, then how can we help you out? Okay. So let's talk about flowers first, right? What does this image tell you? I want a lot of interactions. You can unmute anytime and respond, or you can type in the chat box. What does this slide tell you? What does the image on this slide? There are two images of the rose flower, the same rose flower, and this is the image from my office. So on the right, what you see, the bigger flower, rose, and behind that there's a glass. That's my office. That's exactly where I'm sitting right now, inside over there, right? And the left side, the image you see is the outside of my office. So this flower was kept outside my office at one point of time. Okay, so what comes to your mind when you see this flower, rose flower? Anybody?
End of a beautiful story.
End of a beautiful story. Okay, interesting. Very interesting. Good. But why did that story end? That's my question. Why do you think that it's not an end, it's near end, it's on the way to end probably. But why is this flower like this?
It wasn't
Everything,
providing a proper environment.
Proper environment. Good. What else?
Startup to be immediate.
Huh?
Startup to be immediate. Later, the flower has gone these.
Okay. So just to give you context, this flower is a part of was there was sapling I got. So I go to a lot of talks, and also I went to one of the colleges here in Hyderabad. And usually when you go as a speaker, these days instead of bouquets, they give you saplings. So that's the sapling I got, and I brought it and I put it outside my office here. And after 8 days, I was just going. I was very happy that the sapling you got as a memento. And then I saw that this is the condition. I thought, this is not this is not good, right? And then I thought this actually what happens in real life, not only with flowers, but with companies, with startups, with all of us. Right?
lack of proper environment.
Like a proper environment. Okay. So see, when I got the flower, did I intend for the flower to blossom? Did I want the flower to grow well, or did I want the flower to die?
Grow well.
Right? Did I think the flower is a good it's a good flower, or did I hate that flower?
Very good flower. Yeah.
Did I like the flower?
Very good flower.
I had all the good intents, right?
Yeah.
Did I do this intentionally to the flower?
No.
Then how come that flower is dying? I had good intent. I did not want to kill it. I loved the flower. It was such a beautiful flower. Then how come? And it's a nice environment. You see, it's a entire. By the way, the place where the flower was, it's no more there now. It's a 6 months old picture. The flower died long back. But the place where it is, it's an entirely air conditioned place.
Yeah. Did not have the proper sunshine.
Okay.
Of
Not
course, it is
Environment
detached
to
from soil. It is
okay.
detached from
Everything
soil now.
has
It
to
has
come
to
to
be
an
done.
end.
No, it's not detached from the soil. You don't see that it was a sapling, so there was a pot and there was a soil. It was inside the soil only. It's not an individual flower, it's not a plucked flower, it's a flower in a sapling. So it is connected.
Everything has to come to an end.
Everything has to come to an end.
No,
But
Uh,
but
from my
it
flower
was
view,
is
not what
my,
you wanted, it was what the flower wanted actually.
okay. But did it have to come to an end so soon? Could and forget about the flower. The flower, of course, the flower had to come to an end maybe, but the entire sapling also died. Was it so that a sapling should also have come to an end?
Take action before it will get worse.
So now that flower that you see is a metaphor for your startup ideas, right? I met so many youngsters, so many corporate working professionals, so many people who have spent 10 years, 15 years into corporate, and they're like, now I'm fed up. I don't like my boss. I don't like my company. I'm not paid less. I don't like my work culture. I don't like that one colleague over there. I don't like the chai they provide in this office. I don't like the location of this office. I don't like the honking of the people on the street outside my office. So I want to start a startup, whatever the reason, right? And some amazing ideas they come up with. Now, the ideas that you have for your startup are just like these flowers, right? The problem is, which despite all my good intent, and it's not only me, my entire team over there, we all wanted the flower to blossom. We kept watering it. We put water also. We tried to keep it in light wherever possible. We did whatever we could. Still, we failed. The reason is because we are not gardeners. We don't have much knowledge about those flowers and saplings, right? So we did not know how much water to put. We are putting water. It's not that we are not. We are doing all that we can do, but we did not know how much water to put. We did not know when to water it. How many times a day should we water it? Right? We did not know if I had to put it in sunlight because there was another flower that we put into extreme sunlight and it died because of too much of sunlight also. Right? So we did not know what amount of sunlight is just the right amount. Less than that, it will die. More than that, it will die. Right? We did not know if the soil needs any additional nutrients. Should we provide any manure or any fertilizer to it, right? So despite the best intent, despite having we knew that it requires fertilizers. We knew that it requires water. We knew that it requires sunlight. What we did not know was when, how much, right? And that's what usually early stage first time startup entrepreneurs and startup founders and entrepreneurs lack. You know that I need this, you know that I need an idea, you know that I need a business plan, you know that I need to market, you know that I need my customers, you know that I need to make my prototypes, you know everything, right? More or less from this source or that source. Just like I know about the flowers, I've never studied flowers formally maybe, but through my friends, family, through the experiences as growing up, I know a thing or two about flowers. Same way all of us know a thing or two about startups, about businesses from our friends, family and experiences. But the point is we don't know exactly how much of what and when. And that is why most of the startup ideas end up being like this, right? And that's where comes the role of an incubator. right? Just like a gardener, just like a nursery guy would ensure that this flower doesn't have this fate. Same way, the role of incubator is to ensure that a startup has the startup lowers its risk and the chances of failure go down. You cannot ever commit or promise or ensure that everything will succeed, but you can at least try to reduce the chances of failure. Right? Is that clear so far? Making sense? So that's the overall genesis of the incubation ecosystem, the why incubators come into place, and what your ideas are like. Flowers and incubators are supposed to ensure that the ideas don't wither away, they don't die prematurely, right? Now, coming to a bit more technical and specific, this is how many of you seen this? This is an incubator in a hospital. So the word incubator actually comes from medical science. It comes from hospital side. So incubator in a hospital, if you've seen, some of you might have experienced this, if you had a childbirth in your family or in your friend's house or somewhere, and sometimes a good percentage of time it happens that the child is premature sometimes, and the body functionality is not developed. And usually the child's body is unable to generate the heat which is required for the proper operation and growth of the body organs and for the child to survive. And that is when you put the child in an incubator for 2 days, 4 days, 1 day, 8 days, 15 days, depending upon the criticality of the situation. The child is put in the incubator, and then once after a few days, the child is now able to have sustain itself. You take the baby out of the incubator. So that's the actual original concept of an incubator, right? It's a basically safe control space for infant, and it has the child maintain. Basically, what you provide is in the incubator, you provide some external source of heat to the body, which is very critical, very important for the child to survive and ensure its growth in the early stages. If in case of premature babies, if they are not able to generate that heat by themselves, right? And if you don't provide that, the chances of the baby surviving are very, very, very minimal. So what does the incubator do? The incubator enhances the survival rate of such babies because they cannot survive on their own at that stage, right? They're unable to generate the heat required. They're unable to generate control the mechanism required for their growth. And same is the case with startup. That is why the term incubator was picked up from there. That incubator's role is considered parallel to the role of the incubator hospital. That in the early stages, the startup does not have enough resources. You don't have enough expertise. If it's a first time entrepreneur, if you have done business or if you come from a business family, maybe you have a little bit of that understanding, right? Most of the startup founders don't even come from management background. They have never studied BBA or MBA. They have never studied, maybe studied 1 or 2 subjects of management in their engineering or BSc or some other fields, right? So they come from law, they come from media, they come from design, they come from engineering, they come from journalism, right? Even when they come from BCom again, it's not a lot of the actual modern day business and understanding is not provided there. So no family background in most of the cases, doing business for the first time, no academic background in business, right? So you lack all those basic understanding of business, right? You don't have expert. If you may have that understanding, but then you like connections. To run a business, it's not only about an understanding or knowledge of the business, right? You need expertise in certain sectors. You need networks. You need connections. You need some finances. You need some support. You need a place to work. You need people to cheer you up. You need a community to support you. You need some moral support, not just financial support. So all those in the early stages startup is lacking. You might get it through LinkedIn, you'll get some mentors, you'll get something from here and there, but it's too much of struggle. And that's where the incubator comes and says, hey, this is the stage where you're struggling. And that early stage is a stage where the chances of a startup dying are very high. If we help you go through this 1 year, 2 year of your early journey, through whatever support we can provide. And then at one stage, you are not supposed to be in the baby incubator for your entire lifetime, right? After 15 days, the doctor does take you out of that. Okay, now you are self-reliant, you are self-sustainable. Same with the incubator's role is only initial some days, some months, a couple of years maybe. And then you are supposed to get out of the incubator and sustain the business on your own. So that's the technical origin and how the entire concept of incubator came into picture. Right? And if you understand this, I think everything else that I'm going to talk later will fall in place. You'll be able to put everything into the context. Right. So what is a business incubator now? Right? Simple. As you know, it's a formal definition I put, but you don't have to know the definition. You understand the context and concept by now, right? The business incubator is organized and designed to help startups through the critical early stages of growth, right? Providing various forms of support, which includes, it's not limited to, but including you have resources, you have mentorship, you have networking opportunities, which the startups may lack over there, and thereby facilitating their development and growth. That's what an incubator typically does. Is that clear so far? Cool.
Yes.
I know this is the audience of varied background, varied age group. There are people who would be probably 18, 20 years old, and there are people who would have 20 years of experience also. So I'm trying to cater, I'm trying to keep it. So some part I'm saying might be very too basic for some of you already know it. But please bear with me because I have to ensure that the others also catch up, right? And some part might be a little too high for those who are just starting up. You'll also have to understand that that part is not for you, right? So just focus on what resonates with you, what relates with you. Keep that part, leave the rest. Okay. So now before we go ahead, as we said, as I said in the beginning also, we have incubators. Then incubators started first, and then slowly as the incubators grew, I think the first incubator came somewhere in New York or somewhere in 1950s. And then the incubators have emerged. In India, the incubator started, I think, in late 80s and somewhere in the 90s, the movement started. But they picked up after 2000. In the last 10, 15 years, the incubator movement has picked up a lot. Every year, there are so many incubators being established. And then there are a lot of new concepts emerging. So out of incubators came the concept of accelerator, right? And then there's a new concept that has been making rounds recently. Some of them have started. It's called venture builders. So I thought I'll just talk about those also so that there's this clarity. So incubators basically focus on very early stage startups. Incubators, if you're a startup, incubator is your first entry point. It's like your undergrad degree, right? Right. So if they focus on early stage startups providing because any undergrad degree is 3 to 4 years, right? Master degree is 1 or 2 years. So same way, incubator, because it's a very early stage, you're just coming with an idea. You don't have much of understanding, exposure, and resources. So the incubation support is long duration. Typically, it starts from 6 months to 2 years. Uh, in my understanding, it has to be at least 1 year. A good incubation support has to be 1 year. There are incubators that now do 3 months incubation or so, 6 months also. I don't know if it makes anything. I mean, we have experienced people over here. I see some people who are already 10, 15 years of experience. You go, you have interns in your organization, no, right? If an intern comes to you for 3 months, 4 months, and goes, because I was a faculty and the company used to complain that in 3 months, by the time he starts understanding what the company is about, his 3 months are over and he has to go. So he's not able to contribute, right? So if you cannot do anything in an internship in 3 months, what are you going to do in a startup in 3 to 4 months incubation program? But people, different businesses, different organizations, different agenda, different intents, different outcomes. So people do those 3 to 6 months also. But typically, I think a good incubation program has to be minimum 12 months. We run here 18 months minimum. So it's 18 to 24 months we give. Some startups we take for 18 months, some we give for 24 months, depending upon our assessment of if somebody is a little bit mature, we think they won't need that much support, we'll give 18 months. If we think, no, the startup is not as mature, they will need a lot more hand only, we'll give a longer duration also. So,
Can I ask one fundamental question?
yeah, please go ahead.
See, when a startup comes in, primarily the person there brings up three things. One is the idea that he has. The second is the passion. And the third one, the risk appetite. Now, with these three things coming together, when you give to an incubator, there is always a additional risk that that idea may be stolen or somebody will take it away. Now, how do we ring fence before we open up to this concept of incubator itself? Because that child you are giving to a doctor whom you don't know, how is he going to handle?
No, simple. I'll just correct the last statement. You don't always know the doctor. If you're in a small town, in a small village, then probably know the doctor, right? If you're coming from small town, you're settling in a city like Bangalore, Mumbai, just 2 years into the city, and now you're having a child, you don't necessarily know all the doctor, right? And you hear so many horrible stories about these hospitals. Last week I heard a story about somebody going to one of the hospitals, just some issue with gas, right? And the hospital said that you have some heart problem, you'll have to do some surgery immediately, 5 lakh rupees or something. And then the relative suggested, let's have a second opinion. They went to another hospital. The doctor took 500 rupees as a consultation fees, gave 500 rupees medicine. Within 2 hours, that guy was okay. So those kind of horrible stories we keep hearing about what happens in the medical sector also. But despite that, it doesn't stop us. If your child needs that incubator, you would say, no, I've heard very bad stories about people. I'm not going to put my child in incubator, right? So that happens. You do trust that doctor. In fact, when you go, not only about the child, when you go for a lot of surgeries, and you go for your this heart transplant, a lot of organ transplant people do, you don't necessarily know the doctor. That's a different side of the story. Now, coming to your aspect about, idea will be stolen. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a very common question that and it's not only about incubator. Right? It's not only about incubator. When we do competitions, when we go in general, so when we meet people and say, okay, what idea are you working on? People are, no, I will talk to you only if you're alone. I don't want to talk to you in front of that guy. He'll copy my title. So one thing I'll tell you, we are 8 billion people, right? So to think that I have got an idea which nobody out of those 8 billion other people have ever got is perhaps one of the most foolish things you can do. Anything and everything you can think of, somebody somewhere in some corner of the world has either thought of or is in the process of thinking. It's not about the idea. It's about how you execute it, right? You have Ola, Uber, both working on the same idea, both having equal market. You have Flipkart, you have Myntra, you have Amazon, you have Alibaba, you had Shopclose, you had so many things. All of them work on the same ideas. All of them copying from each other, right? So it's not only just merely the idea that helps. Second thing is, how far are you going to keep the idea secret? Someday you'll put it in the market, right? The moment you launch, do you think the competitors are going to sit with their hands folded? They're going to come behind you, right? So there's a very interesting example. I don't know how many of you know this, but there's this app called WeChat. India, we don't use it, but China, because WhatsApp is blocked. My cousin goes to China often. So when he goes to China, he has to install WeChat. So WeChat, when they came first, their proposition was audio notes. WeChat was the first app to bring in this audio notes that everybody now, Instagram, WhatsApp, all of them have it. WeChat was the first to introduce. And I remember seeing the TV ads. Or there's a guy walking and there's a girl in the bus and they want to talk, but she's in the bus and he's crossing the road, he cannot type. So they say, okay, we have audio chat option. So you can cross the road and you can speak in and record and all those. That's how the ad tried to position WeChat. And they launched. Everything else was same. It was just a WhatsApp with the additional audio note. How many months did it take for WhatsApp to come up with the audio feature for themselves? Hardly 3 to 4 months, right? What happened? The moment it happened, it's gone. Then there's another interesting example. There was this app called Hike. I don't know if you remember. Again, similar to WhatsApp. The only difference, and I remember when I was in Symbiosis, we had departmental groups on Hike rather than WhatsApp because Hike was the first app to allow sharing of files other than image and videos. PowerPoint, Word documents, PDFs. WhatsApp did not allow initially. If you remember, WhatsApp only allowed you images and videos, right? But Hike started allowing on Hike you could share PowerPoint, you could share documents, and that's the reason we started creating group on Hike. What happened? 2 months, 3 months down the line, WhatsApp comes with the same picture. So if you think that is my idea, I'm going to protect it. Mere my idea. Kabhi na kabhi you are going to put it in the market and somebody is going to come, right? So it's better that you actually, the more you share the idea with people, the more feedback you get, the more you can fine tune it. Second thing, if somebody had to do it, steal your idea. See, if somebody has that passion to steal you to do something, they'll do it anyways. It's not people when people don't do something, it's not because they don't have ideas, because they are not interested. I've been doing this for the past 10 years now. I've taught so many people, I've run so many programs, I've mentored so many startups. So I've been a jury member in so many of the startup competition where these people come and present. I would have attended to more than 1,000 startup ideas in the past 10 years. Right? Usme se at least 200 would be unique because there's a repetition also. Same kind of ideas, multiple. 150 to 200 unique ideas I have evaluated. Now imagine if I wanted to start my startup, I had 150 ideas on plate. But if I want to start, if at all I want to start tomorrow, I'm not going to pick any of those 150 ideas because those ideas don't come from within me. You talked about passion also, right? You don't feel passionate about something which is not yours. Right?
Right.
आप किसी और का बच्चा अडॉप्ट करके तो ले आओगे, but वो passion नहीं आएगा. So it's like that, right? So if I want to start a business, if I really want to be dedicated, I'm going to say, okay, I know your idea. I could, and I keep telling people, a lot of time people come to me and say, when the incubation में आते हैं, and when they discuss with their idea, and I ask them, same question, how are you going to protect yourself against competition? And I tell them that you are a 18-year-old kid. How much money do you have in your bank balance? There's a 20,000. I say I have much more money in my bank account. I have better resources. I know much more about business than you. I have more expertise. I have better connects. I can start this business within the next 1 week. What will you do? Now that you told me the idea, there are we cannot do anything. We cannot do anything. I'm like, I don't want to do that. If I had to do that, I could have done that. So that's the notion that we need to kill. That if it's not only about that idea, it's how you execute it, how you implement it. I'll tell you one simple thing. Whatever I'm going to talk about today, right? Do you think some God came in my dreams in the night and say, go and talk about this? Is it some very, very protected knowledge that I'm sharing with you? Everything that I'm talking about, you go to ChatGPT will tell you. right? In fact, if I ask you, how sure are you that my presentation is not copy pasted from ChatGPT right now? Are you sure that everything that's on my slide is what I have typed or is not directly copied from ChatGPT?
Right, right.
What
But
are
is
the
there
chances?
any protection mechanism provided by
No,
Mahindra when an idea comes up or when you take it as an incubator?
no, so that's why I'm coming. So there is no, see, that's one thing. There is no as a the protection of your idea is your ability to execute.
Okay.
Simple. Yeah, if it's a technology product where there's a lot of engineering, science, technology involved, right? Then of course you could go and patent it. But 70 to 80% of the startup ideas that emerge that we work with that come, they are not patentable. If you're just tweaking something here and there, if you are there's a Ola out there, you're coming up with a similar taxi app. So there was Ola, there was Uber. Now in Bangalore, if anybody's from Bangalore here, they came up with this concept called Namma Yatri.
No.
Right? What did they do? Just what they said, okay, we'll not charge you commission on every ride. We'll just charge you per day. Per day you pay 30 rupees. The auto guy has to pay 30 rupees or something, 50 rupees to the Mayatri for every day. And then whatever rides they give to the app, 100% goes to the auto. They don't charge any commission. Right? So what was the difference? Everything same as Ola Uber, just one thing tweak. Now that cannot be patented. Right? Now they thought they did it. Now same thing Ola Uber are doing. I read that Ola and Uber are coming up with similar plans for auto. Can the Mayatri stop them? No. Right? So there's no, only if there's a patentable thing that you can of course patent and
Okay.
right, and otherwise there's nothing. Nobody will. If in fact that I have seen startups that when they go to investors and they're like, if I go to the investor and I talk about my idea to them, right? And what if they copy? There's a now. I usually when I get this question from younger audience, that when the students very young and when they ask this question that what about somebody steals my idea, I give a very uh, not a technical answer but something that they understand. I'm like, you got a very beautiful girlfriend, let's say. Yeah. A very beautiful girl, you fall in love, she loves you, you love her, everything, but you're insecure. That I have friends who are more rich than me, who are more handsome than me, more better looking, they're more, every way. There are so many of my friends who are much better than me. But if I take this girlfriend or this wife or this fiance of mine to those friends, right? And she might get impressed by one of them, and they might steal my girlfriend. They might steal my girlfriend. So what you'll do? I'll not take my girlfriend anymore. मैं उसको लेके नहीं जाऊंगा, उसको छुपा के रखूंगा. So I normally say, if that's the insecurity you have, that is the girl, or it could work the other way around also, right? Okay, you got a boyfriend, you got a husband, and you're afraid if I go to my friend and one of my girlfriend might steal my husband or my boyfriend. If that's the insecurity, then should you be with that person in the first place? Right? The same way, if your idea is like somebody else can steal your idea and build a better product than you, then probably you are not worthy of working on that idea in the first place. Simple. I hope that answers.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So I was talking about, let me finish this slide and then we move on to the next one. So I was talking about incubators, accelerators, and venture capitals. I think most of the points are already written. I'll move to the next slide, which will clarify these things in details. Incubators, as I was telling, mostly come at the starting level, so more like a bachelor's program, accelerator more like a master's program, right? Where once you're already, somebody asked a question in the chat box also, is there an incubator for already running business? So if you're already up and running, already making some good revenue, then you are more suitable for an accelerator than an incubator, right? And accelerator programs are usually short duration. They are very focused because they take in only those startups that are already into the market, already making some revenue. The goal of the accelerator is to help you scale your business. Well, the goal of an incubator is to help you validate your idea, help you go to the market, make your product, ensure that your product is as per the customer requirements, help you figure out your business model, help you figure out your market and all those things. That's the role of the incubator. It's early stage. Accelerators at the growth stage, that okay, now you have a product in the market, you have made some sales, you're earning 5 lakh, 10 lakh, 15 lakhs, you have 2, 3 products. But now from 5 lakhs, you want to go to 50 lakhs. From 10 lakhs, you want to go to 10 crores. Right. So now the question is not whether my product is right or not, whether the customers want it, they are buying it, I'm able to sell it, I know how to sell it, I figured out my pricing, I figured out my packaging, I figured out my business model, everything is done. All that is now required is to scale this up. That's where accelerators come into picture. The accelerator programs are usually 3 to 6 months, they are cohort based, and accelerators usually are focused more on providing mentoring support, mostly mentoring and funding. Because at that stage you need fund and more amount of fund. Incubators also provide fund, but the incubators, the quantum of funding is very less, 10 lakh, 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs, what incubator will provide. Accelerators can go up to 50 lakhs, 1 crores. Because at that stage, When you're already into the market, when you're making 10, 15 lakhs of revenue yourself, a funding of 5, 10 lakhs from the incubator makes no sense for you, right? And second, the accelerator focuses more on the mentoring and networks. Whereas in the incubator, the other things also help. You need labs, you need office space, and all those stuff. When you're in the accelerator, you're already at a stage where you can afford your own lab, your own R&D, your own office space, and also you don't need that support from the incubator. And again, the focus of incubator is to validate your idea, to make sure that what you're doing is actually worth doing. There is a market for this. It should be something that's done. In the accelerator, it's already validated. The purpose now is there to just scale it up. And then you comes a venture builder. It's a new concept. The venture builders, typically what they do is they become your partners in the business. So incubators, accelerators, they are service providers. It's your business, you run the show, they'll just help you. They'll provide you guidance, they provide you inputs. Venture builder actually will become a part of the team. Somebody from their team will actually become a co-founder with you. They'll own the company, right? And they will build the product along with you. So it's like either you go to venture builder and they're working on some product and say, I don't have an idea, but can I work on your, is this something exciting that you guys are working on? I want to join. And you will be able to join their team and build a startup with them. And probably I'll also go, you'll also go. They are also already working on an idea. They have 2 more people, all 4 of us together. The venture builder comes in and we build the venture. That is one thing. Second is that I go to the venture builder with an idea that, okay, this is the idea in my mind, but I don't know how to go ahead and I don't want to be doing this alone. They'll say, okay, let's join hand. 2 of our team members will become, their team member work full time as a part of your business. In incubator, the incubator team will not work for your business, right? They're more like a mentoring consulting zone. But in the venture builder, they'll become a part of your business. So it's very new concept that's emerging. But again, in the venture incubators and all, you have the control, you run the business. They are just at the back end supporting. Venture builder, they start driving the car. They become as important as you. They become equal partners, right? So then it's like they are your partners in the business. They are not just service providers to you. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Cool. So now we'll go to the how do incubators support. Again, the image I've taken from the internet, but that was a very nice image, captured everything what I wanted to show in a very good infographic, right? So typically the services that the incubator will provide is I classify them on the 3 buckets. One is the infrastructure services support, then other is the soft services or guidance, and third is the funding services. So in terms of infrastructure, incubator will provide you office space at a very inexpensive rates. For example, if you go now in Pune or Hyderabad, those are 2 markets, and even Bangalore, if you want to start a business, you can start from your home also. But then there will come a point in when you're a team of 3 or 4 people, and if you're family people or you're just student, you cannot invite all your team members every day to your house, or you cannot go to their house. You need a common office space where you can operate from. And then again, office space gives a different kind of environment aura, a different kind of a discipline kicks in. Now, if you want to go, you cannot hire your own office space at this stage. You're just working on the idea. You probably are 1 year, 2 years away from making your first sale. You don't have a revenue yet. You don't want to spend. You don't want to rent 50,000 rupees for office space or 1 lakh rupees for office space. All that you need is some chairs to sit. So there's a concept called co-working space, if you know, right? If you heard of WeWorks and this 91 Springboard and all, there's a huge space where if you go to IT companies, for example, it's a big office and everybody has a small cubicle where you can go and sit. So those cubicles you can rent out. So typically, if you go to WeWork or any professional co-working space, they'll charge you somewhere between 8 to 15,000 per month per cubicle. 8 to 15,000 minimum. It depends upon the city, which area it is located. Of course, the more prime the area, the higher the rate, and the brand name of that co-working space. If you go to incubator, typically you'll get the same co-working space at somewhere around 3,000 to 4,000 per month. Right. So that is a drastic change. You end up getting that for a very cheap price. And the reason is because those co-working spaces are commercial entities. They make business money, they make revenue from the rent you pay. They have to pay the salaries, everything. Incubators, most incubators, at least in India, are not for profit bodies. They're all Section 8 companies, which means you cannot keep profit out of it. They are a social enterprise themselves. Their motto is to support the startups. So whatever money they make is supposed to be used only for the sustenance and operations of the incubators. The promoters, the directors, founders cannot take any profit out of the incubator. Most of the incubators in India fall under that category, and most of the incubators are also funded by some or other government agencies. Right. So what happens is government agencies, you get some 10 crores, 5 crores, 15 crores of grant, 100 crores some IITs get. So that money you get from the government takes care of your operational expenses, your salaries, your manpower, your rentals, your electricity bills, everything is taken care from the budget you're getting from the government side. And so they are not dependent on the startups for their expenses. And that is why the incubators are able to provide it at a subsidized rate. Second is when the government gives the money, there's a mandate that we are giving you this 10 crores, 5 crores, whatever. We are not giving you to make money for yourself. We are giving you because we want to support startups. We as governments cannot directly go and work with the startups because the government has there are a lot of issues, right? They don't have time, they don't have the bandwidth, they don't have the manpower, they don't have the expertise. So through the incubators, they said that we are giving you the money, you work with the startups and you help them, right? With a not-for-profit model. Because whenever the government money is involved, you cannot make profit out of that government money, of course. So that's the reason the incubators are able to provide you all the services at a much more subsidized cost. Some of them even free also because the funding is coming. So you get inexpensive office space, right? Then you get lab space. So a lot of incubators, special incubators that are a part of some universities or incubators that are backed by some government research labs or private research labs, or the incubators that focus on technology-based startups. They have their own laboratories as well. Basic makers lab or fab lab, as we call it, where you have all the basic amenities. You have 3D printers, you have laser cutters, you have vinyl cutters, you have some CNC machine, you have some lathe machine, you have some cutting tools. So if somebody is working on a hardware startup, right, everything that is required for you to create your first prototype. Of course, you cannot do entire manufacturing there, but you want to work, you want to make the prototype, you want to see whether it's working or not, you want to iterate. Now, for that, you cannot always go to an industrial area to some vendor or no, keep doing that. So the incubator will provide you all of that in-house. Plus, if the incubator is based out of a university, like we are based out of Mahindra University, a lot of IITs have incubators that are based out in the IIT campus. So then you have access to the labs of that university or the institute also. Right? So, for example, our startups, we have a supercomputer, one of the most powerful supercomputer in any university campus in the country we have over here. So our startups have access to that. IIT Bombay has some facilities. So the startups that are in the incubator of IIT Bombay get access to that facilities as well. So that also you get, right? Then you get mentoring. So incubators or typically have a pool of mentors. Some of the mentoring is done by their own team, but they have pool of mentors who are themselves entrepreneurs, investors, or corporate professionals with 10, 15, 20 years of experience. And most of these mentors work pro bono for the incubator. Most of them work pro bono because they are at the stage they want to give to the back to society. Some work on a payment basis also. But that payment also, if it is to be done to the mentor, that is done by the incubator. You don't have to pay it. So what the incubator would do, they will identify good mentors. They will have a pool of 30, 40, 50 mentors. Now, the benefit here is you can also go to LinkedIn, send emails to 10 founders, 10 investors, 10 experts, 50 experts that I'm not just doing this startup. Can you mentor me? Out of those 10, 3 will reply, one will probably help you. But the idea is there are so many fake mentors, fake experts out there in the ecosystem, one, right? Trying to take advantage of the knowledge asymmetry, information asymmetry, the lack of knowledge on the startups part. Second, not everybody can be a good mentor, right? So it's a different skill set to become an entrepreneur themselves. And so I normally tell this example, right? Who was Sachin Tendulkar's coach? Now, if Sachin Tendulkar becomes a coach, will he be able to make another Sachin Tendulkar? Right? So it takes a different skill set to be a Ramakant Acharya to make a Sachin Tendulkar, and it takes a different skill set to be a Sachin Tendulkar, right? So now, if you wanted to become a good player like Sachin, who would you approach? Would you go to Sachin and say, "Hey, Sachin, can you mentor me?" Or would you go to Ramakant Acharya and say, "Hey, would you mentor me?" Now, what is his records? Ramakant Acharya's records in terms of cricket. But typically, what happens? Startups they see, "Oh, this guy was on Shark Tank. This guy was a unicorn. He has raised so much money. He's such an amazing entrepreneur. So I'll go and I'll make him my mentor." But they don't realize it that becoming a not every good entrepreneur, as we said, not every expert can be a good teacher. Right? Just because I'm expert at something does not make me a good teacher at that thing. May know the knowing and the ability to share and explain it or help others is a different thing altogether. How many of us have had teachers in our school and colleges, right? One or two teachers who amazing knowledge, super expert in this topic, but when they come to teach, we don't understand anything what they're teaching, right? Because knowing is a different skill, and helping somebody else know is a different skill. So that is where there is a lot of gap sometimes. You go and people end up finding a mentor, very fancy one, but then they realize that, it's not working. So we at incubator, when I say we, every incubator, but it's because it's a part of our job. See, identifying mentor for a startup is just one part of so many things they have to do. It's not the only thing they have to do. So the incubators typically they work with these mentors, they work day in, day out. One mentor that I have worked with 4 or 5 startups. So we closely observe how he's mentoring, what he's doing. We get feedback from the startups, right? If we get multiple startups coming and say this mentor is amazing, he has helped us, we know this is a good mentor. We have to continue him, we have to keep him in the pool. If 80% of my startups come and tell this mentor is not helping out, he's just sharing his stories, he's just telling I did this, I did that, but it's not helping me out, we remove them out of the pool. Right. So with the incubator, the mentor pool that you have at the incubator is a very curated, tested mentor pool. That is number two. Third is most of the times a lot of people will come and say, I want to mentor you, but they will always have some ulterior motive. Right. So he has a similar business that yours. So maybe somebody will come say, I want to mentor you. After 2 months, he'll say, oh, no, maybe I will merge your idea with mine. Right. Or something. There are people with a lot of ulterior motives that are not in the favor of the startup. But the mentors that are incubator keeps, because the incubator's focus is on the startup. The incubator's primary stakeholder is the startup. Right. So any mentor that we feel is not good for the startup is out of our pool. Any mentor that's trying to sell their services, any mentor that we think is trying to manipulate the startup into doing something which is not in the benefit of the startup, but in the benefit of the mentor, that mentor no more remains a part of the pool. So everywhere that happens. So that's one thing that mentorship you get for the incubator. And second, there's accountability also. Right? Because now between you and the mentor, there's a third party called the incubator. So typically what happens, otherwise you go to a mentor, if you go directly, you have contact with the mentor. And if it's not working, you go with some requirements, some questions, they end up answering something else. Now, who do you complain to? You cannot go and tell that mentor anyways, because the very fact that is helping you out is a favor on you. How do you going to complain? Right? Same way happens with the mentor side also. Sometimes that the mentor wants to mentor, but the mentee is not serious. They're not following what the instructions are being given. They don't take the action step. They don't know the guidance that the mentor is giving. They don't follow it up. What does the mentor do? Except for withdrawing, except for stopping. So here the incubator comes in between. Anything between both of them, they come and tell the incubator. The mentor can come and tell the incubator that this startup is not serious, he's not following up what I'm telling, he does not come to other meetings properly, he does not respect my time. The startup can come and tell the incubator that the mentor is not helping me. And then either the incubator will mediate, they'll try to fix up the problem, or they'll change the mentor, they'll change the startup with the mentor, whatever. So that's another thing. Then technical assistance in terms of technology. Again, if the incubator is backed by a university or backed by a corporate group. So for example, we have Mahindra Group backing us. We are based out of Tech Mahindra Group over here. As I said, IIT Bombay is there. Then a lot of other incubators who are backed. You have IIC Bangalore in Bangalore, Hyderabad. We have IIT Hyderabad incubators there. So these are backed by technology institutes. In Pune, you have Venture Center, which is backed by NC, National Chemical Laboratories. Right. So NC is one of the top most laboratories in the country, and they have an incubator. So now they have that technical expertise in terms of the professors working there, the scientists working there, the labs, the PhD scholars. That expertise can be made available to the startup. So one of the startups that is incubated with us here actually has one of the professors from our university who is a co-founder. Very minority stake is taken, but wherever in technology part, this guy gets stuck because he's just a bachelor student. He's completing his final year now. So wherever he gets stuck, he doesn't understand what do I do with this algorithm. That professor comes in and helps him out. So that technology mentoring also available. Then IPR management, the incubators will help you. So we have some IP consultants on board. So typically the incubators have their own IP cells, or they will connect you with IP consultants in case if your product is something that is patentable. Because as I said, the startups, protecting the startup, ensuring the startup's safety, security, and progress is the prime concern of incubator. So sometimes we push the startups. No, this is something you should know, what you were talking about earlier, that how about, incubator or somebody will steal my idea. So if we feel that this is the patentable product and somebody might copy it, we tell the startup कि पहले patent करो, तब तक don't talk about this to anyone. So we ourselves, but it happens very less, very frequently. Then you have networking. So incubators, because incubators keep doing a lot of, that's a part of the job. So we keep doing a lot of events. There are networking events. You do a lot of conferences. There are demo days that incubators do. Demo day, if you, for those of you who don't know, is basically a pitching event, presentation event where selected startups come and present to a panel of investors. Now, sometimes it could be actually a panel of investors. Sometimes it could be just mentors who are not there to invest, but you come and present, you get a mock pitching. How do you pitch to investors? So those, and when you present to those investors, you end up making some connections. Right. So we did a demo in the month of April. We had Hyderabad and this coming up. We had some, a lot of other capital, this venture capitalists coming up. Their CEOs coming and sitting. Out of 10 startups that presented, 2 of the startups, I got interest from one of the venture capital firm that they said, they wrote back to us that those 2 startups that presented from your incubator, we like them. We would like to consider investing in them. Can you connect us? So that's the job of the incubator. Now, whether they invest or not, that is between the investor and the startup, how well the startup is working, how well they pitch it to it. And we, of course, help in the pitching also. But the idea is that you make those connections. Right now, a very interesting example, I was at Bangalore. So now what happens typically as a startup, when you write to as an investor, angel investor, VC, these people receive like hundreds and 200s or 50, depending upon how popular the investment firm is, but they get on getting at least dozens of pitch decks every week, right? And they don't even respond to you. A lot of time when you send your presentation, your business plan to them, 80% of the time they will not even reply yes or no or whatever, because they are so occupied. And then they are in that aura, they think we are investors, we should not be replying. But then because we keep moving, talking to these investors and all, so there's a network that builds, there's a connection that is built. Because when I talk to an investor, when he looks at me, he's like, okay, this guy has got 10 startups in his incubator. So maybe out of those 10, at least one would be good and good for me, one would be beneficial for me. And the investors are also always looking for good startup. It's just like, we say कि market में jobs नहीं है, jobs नहीं, jobs नहीं. On the other side, companies say कि अच्छे employees नहीं है, right? So when somebody is hiring you, giving you a job, the company is not doing a favor on you. They're hiring you because you're going to contribute to the company and to help them make more revenue. That's why they're hiring you, right? It's not that the company is doing any favor to you by giving you a salary. Same way, when the investor is investing in you, they're not doing a favor on you. They're taking a part of your company in return. Right? And when you do good, when your company grows, they make money on that. They make 10 times, 20 times the money on that. So they are also looking for good startups. The problem is that disconnect. Okay, who to trust, who to not trust. So I was in Bangalore 2 weeks ago for an event. Weekend, Saturday, Sunday, I was there. I was speaking at a cultural entrepreneurship summit over there. And during lunch, there was before me, I was in a panel discussion as a panelist. Before me, there was another panel discussion on some other topic. So there was this moderator who is a part of the Chennai Angels committee. And then over lunch, as speakers, we had lunch together. So over lunch, I sat down, we were discussing. And then I started asking him. So he is himself an investor. He has invested in some 10, 15 startups himself, and he's also part of Chennai Angels network. And when we started talking what kind of startups he invests in, what is his approach towards investing and all those things. And then when he said, immediately I realized that there is a startup that is incubated with our incubator that we are working with, and they got recently incubated, and they're based out of Bangalore also. They are virtually, so we are supporting them virtually. But I said, this is a startup that I have with me in my incubator, which I think matches with the kind of startup you invest in. Would you be interested? And then I was going back from the venue in the cab. I called to the Daisy, the co-founder, and asked, "Can you send me your pitch deck presentation quickly?" She said on WhatsApp. I forwarded that WhatsApp to that investor. He was on the airport over there at that time. He was flying somewhere else, and then he said, "This is from looks from a martial arts sector." I know another investor who invests in this sector, and he's in Japan. Once he comes back, I'm going to forward this to him. So on this kind of a connections, you never know. That is where the incubators come into picture. The same thing, if the founder would have gone, probably they don't even respond. Because when I go with the Mahindra ka name with me. Okay, I'm not just nobody. I'm not just a small startup with 2 employees and struggling to make my ends meet. I represent Mahindra Group. That's one thing. Second, when I go, I'm not representing one startup. I have 20 startups with me. So if you don't want to talk to me, fine. So that is a different playing ground when we go as compared to when a startup goes, and that helps a lot of ways. So when I was with Symbiosis earlier, I was with the Symbiosis Incubation Center also. And I had so many cases when the startup would write a mail to somebody from a government office or some other entrepreneur or investor just to get some guidance or mentoring or some information. 10 minutes, no reply. They'll come back. I would just write one mail from my ID saying that I am the head of incubation with Symbiosis, bold Symbiosis, and so and so. And we have so many startups. And one of our startup wants to talk to you. Within a day, you would get the response. It was not me. It was not my name. It was the name below my name in the signature where Symbiosis came in or where Mahindra comes in. That plays a role. Right. So again, you have a lot of stuff to share operational costs. You get a lot of free credit. So there are a lot of these companies called AWS, Amazon Web Server Cloud. They give Zoho is there, IBM, Google. They all give cloud credits. So a lot of the services that are SaaS-based services, software as a service. So these people also want to support startups. So they'll give like 1 lakh worth of free credits, 2 lakh worth of free credits, 1 crore worth of free credits to use their product to the startups. But they don't give that to the startup directly because they don't have the time, energy, bandwidth to validate who is a genuine startup, who is not. Otherwise, random individuals, corporate professionals will also go and start claiming that. So what they do is they partner with the incubator and they said, okay, you a startup, any startup comes to you, you validate, you tell us if you sell, this is a genuine startup, we'll trust you, we'll give it to them. So that validation part they leave to the incubator and they distribute to the incubation. Seed funding is available. So some of the incubators fund through their own fund. Very few have their own funding. So we have to, because of the Mahindra Group backing us, we have some seed fund that we provide from our side. But most of the incubators have government funds. So if you heard of the Startup India Seed Fund, is one of the funds, right? There's Nidhi Startup Support Scheme Fund. There's Nidhi EIR Entrepreneur Residence. There's Nidhi Prayas Grant. There's Maitika Grant, Tide Grant. I mean, dozens of those grants. But the government also does not give those grants to the startup directly, because again, the government does not have manpower, energy, time, and that expertise to evaluate and follow up with the startups. So what they do is they'll give the money to the incubator. One incubator, they'll say 100 incubators, 50 incubators, will give 10 crores to each of you. Now you decide, you select the startup, you monitor. But if the startup does not do good, if it fails, if the money goes for waste, you are going to be held accountable. Will not go beyond the startup, will hold the incubator accountable. So that money is also disbursed through a lot of incubators.
What is the value driver for an incubator to provide all this support?
As I said, see the incubator, I'll talk about it later when you come to the kind of thing. One is, as I said, most of the incubators are not for profit, right? So they're essentially working, even for example, if we are here in Mahindra University, the university makes money from all the admissions and all. For them, it's just one thing they want to do for the entrepreneurship ecosystem. So the university puts in some money and the government gives in some money, and together as a joint project, they want to do something for the larger good of the society. This is not a money making project. It's more or less, we are not technically NGO, but most of the incubators actually function like an NGO. As I said, Section 8 company is a not-for-profit company wherein you cannot make profit out of it. And most incubators fall in that category. Just a service they want to do to the society. That's it. And of course, they charge you some money also. They charge you some equity because they want to sustain also. They also have their expenses. So we'll talk about that in a while when I go. Is this clear so far? I think everything I've covered. Some incubators will provide you shared finance accounting services. So what they'll do is, we don't do that. Some incubators do that. That they will have accounts person over there, and that one account person will handle the accounts of all the startups that are incubated there. So rather than you going and hiring a separate account person, the incubator hires one person, because initially in the startup stage, you don't have a lot of accounting work to do. You don't have enough work for one person to dedicated 8 hours a day to that work, right? So you could share that. So a lot of that work gets shared. There are incubators, like Symbiosis we used to do. We used to hire a digital marketing agency. I would say, okay, you will work with all our startups. So not no one post for each startup every day. We'll pay you in bulk. So those kind of a shared operational costs also is possible with a lot of incubators. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So now again, we are already this slide already I've covered. I just want to put it in a different perspective. Why should a startup join incubator? Right. So one is, you get structure, support, and guidance from experienced mentor. As I said, the mentor pool, we have in our mentor pool right now people who are directors and CEOs of investment firms, of angel investment firms, people who have been serial entrepreneurs. Recently, in the same Bangalore tour, I met somebody who is a social entrepreneur who has been on Shark Tank. A lady who has been on Shark Tank, who's invested, runs a very amazing cultural enterprise over there. And I had a post lunch, I had a nice discussion with her. And then I told her that I want you to be a mentor in my incubator, because there are some of my startups who want to apply for Shark Tank. So you've gone through the journey, right? If you are a mentor, you can help them. And she was very kind enough, because most of these entrepreneurs are happy to help. They want to give back to the society. So that kind of experience, mentorship are available. Again, based on the kind of, so for example, if you are in IIT incubator, as I said, the IIT professor. So there are a lot of people who are alumni of IIT Bombay, let's say, right? So they are now at big positions in big companies. And then when the IIT Bombay incubator calls them, we have a startup, would you come back and help? They have that connection with their alma mater, with that I studied at IIT Bombay. So if IIT Bombay is working with a startup, I would like to help them. So that also helps. If you're in IIM, IIT, or some reputed institute incubator, that helps you. Or if you're a corporate back. So for example, if you are BITS Pilani, BITS is backed by the Aditya Birla Group, right? So Birla Group gives them a lot of money. Here we are backed by the Mahindra Group. So we have every other week, we have somebody from the Tech Mahindra Group, either their chief HR manager or the people manager or somebody who's coming and visiting their clients come. So if we need some support, one of the startup that we have is working on agri-tech. And he's building some laser-based weeding mechanism that will go at the back of the tractor. So for the field trials, he needed a tractor. And if he had to go out and rent a tractor, he would have paid some 6 to 7 lakh rupees in rent for the tractor, because he wanted for 3 to 4 months. Now we wrote somehow through the Mahindra Group and all, because Mahindra is into tractors, Mahindra itself manufactures tractors. We got him a brand new Mahindra tractor for the field work without a single rupee paid. Right? That tractor did not even have a number plate on it. Right on factor. Kind of support is there's another startup that's working on some product which is applicable to industrial workers, factory workers. It's that's their customer segment. So they wanted to do a trial, because they wanted to do testing and trial and multiple products. They wanted to check which is having more effectiveness and all. Again, how do you put them into and they wanted a very huge factory. So again, near Hyderabad, there is a Mahindra, and Mahindra has a tractor manufacturing plant. So through the Mahindra Connect, we reached out to them and we said that we have some of the startups that want to work. They said we'll be happy to help. And they're going on. They had already visited twice. They have done the testing. Now the third visit they're going to do maybe in a month or two. So that kind of a support, connection, mentoring is possible through that incubator, which probably if you directly approach Mahindra, you might not have got it. Right? Or you directly go to IIT alumni, or you go to somewhere else. So every incubator again, it's not only if you so there is this incubator called Shivnadar University somewhere in the north. They are backed by the HCL founders. Right? So they have
What
that.
happens when an incubator fails in generating an income to the startup?
Hello.
Yeah, what happens when an incubator fails in generating an income to the startup?
The incubator?
Startups.
I'm not getting a question. Can you repeat it?
Yeah, what happens when an incubator fails in generating an startup income to the startup?
I'll come to that. I'll come to that. That point is on my slide. Okay? I'll come to that. So that's it. Access to resources, as I said, I know you have opportunity. One more important thing is you have a support to community, especially if you're working for incubators. Right now, we have some startups that come and work from here, right? So it's a co-working model. So you have when you come and you work, there are some of the 10 other startups sitting in the same place. They're also working. They're also doing something. They also get frustrated. They also because at the entrepreneur journey is full of frustrations, full of disappointments, full of challenges. And a lot of time, what happens, your family members or your regular friend circle is not able to understand that. For some of us who are first time entrepreneurs, not coming from that background, friend circle, they are never been entrepreneurs. So the challenges that you face, the emotional ups, mood swings, the ups and downs, the frustrations, and all those things that happen in your life as an entrepreneur. There's a customer who promises that I'll buy the product and use on that the promise. You end up investing money in the inventory and they do not buy, and a lot of those things will happen. So sometimes your family, your existing friend circle is not able to relate to it. Right? Only somebody who's been through that journey can understand that. So when you're working in a place like that, you're working with so many other fellow incubators who are also going to similar journey, not exactly the same journey, but they're also going to similar journey. They understand. So you get in it becomes a very nice community. You can share your issues with them. You can help each other. You can discuss with each other. Right? There's a lot of moral, emotional support that happens. So when I was in Symbiosis, I remember there were a couple of startups that uh, there was this young guy who was working on a startup for 2.5 years, and he was not going anywhere. He was struggling. We were helping him, and then his parents, and he was just about, when you feel after 1.5 2 years, now I could not do anything for the 2 years, but now I'm so close. He could feel it. We could feel it. Just 2 3 months, and now he's going to crack it. But at that point, his parents put the foot down and said, "No, you are going to get married. We want you to get married, and so you have to take a job." And through some contacts, he was a engineer with an MBA, so he was getting a very nicely paid job also. This guy did not want to take it, but his father was very reluctant. If you either take a job or we'll disown you and stuff like that. Now what do you do? So then he actually brought his father to the incubation office, and we had our CEO back then, and we sat together with his father, and we tried to explain. Give him 3 more months. We trust in him. It's not that his father was like, no, he's been telling for past 2 years. He doesn't understand. And then we had a discussion. We convinced, and then based on that, he agreed. Okay, 2 3 months, I'll give more. So that kind of a support, you never know. You need either from the incubation team, from the mentors, from the peers. That comes at times. Plus you get some kind of branding. So when you say I'm incubated at so and so start in incubator, I'm a part of the IIT Bombay incubator, I'm a part of I am Bangalore incubator, I'm a part of Mahindra incubator, whatever. So that brand names come with you, right? That okay, if IIT selected you, if I am Bangalore selected you, if Shivnada selected you, if any other incubator selected you, they might have seen something in you, right? Because these incubators have very limited bandwidth. And right now, as I say, I have my call for incubation going on. I want to select only 5 startups in the upcoming cohort. I have more than 150 applications already. So out of 150, I'm going to select 5. That's 1 in 30. The reason is not that I want to select only 5, because I don't have enough manpower, enough funding, enough budget, enough energy to support all 150 of those who want to join. So I can select only 5 of them. Right. So when I'm selecting of 5 of them, that means in a way it's credibility that, okay, you are the best 5 in my opinion. Does not mean that you are necessary, but you are better than the other applications. So when you are a part of the cohort, it gives you that credibility when you go for investment or some other, when you want to recruit more people also. And of course, with all this that come together, the services, the support, the moral support, the guidance, the mentoring, the network, the investor connect and all, it ends up reducing your chance, increasing your chance of startup success and reduces the failure. Now, what not to expect at an incubator? Very important. That's why I said, because this is where people go out from go wrong. One is immediate and guaranteed success. Right. No incubator start. The world of startup is full. 90%, 95% of the startup they say fill in the world. Right? So no incubator, nobody in the world is ever going to take a guarantee that you come be a part of our program, do MBA here or do something, and you will succeed. No, no incubator will be the guarantee. The incubator job is to complement your efforts to support. It's your job, your efforts that will take you somewhere. It's like a college, the college, most of the colleges these days, you go for MBA, engineering colleges, they have a placement department. But the college's job is not to place you. The college is not there to give you a job. The college is that you pay the fees, we'll give you education for 4 years, 2 years, whatever. We'll do our best. We'll empower you, we'll equip you, we'll train you, we'll groom your personality to a level so that a good company will hire you. But no college is going to give you a guarantee on the first day that if you come to my college, I will give you a job 100%. Right? Because it's your efforts. They'll do everything, but then how much effort do you put? How do you prepare? How do you spend that time and all those things? So same way when you ask, what if the incubator is not able to generate? Generating the revenue is not the incubator's purpose. It's your business. It's your baby. You have to generate it. The incubator can only help you wherever you face challenges. Right? I mentioned that the incubators will not run the business for you. It's like a consultant. Right? Same way.
Yeah. Ismail, does the incubator also help in developing the profile or doing the marketing efforts or how we do it, or even the milestone, the laying down a milestone program?
So the incubator's job is like a gym trainer.
Okay.
The gym trainer does not do the exercise on your behalf. He does not lift the weights. He will not run for you. He will not do the cardio exercise for you. He will tell you what to do, when to do, kitna push-up marna hai, kitna speed per run, kitna running karna hai, kitna cycling karna hai. Right? That will do. He'll not go and get on a cycle for you.
Right.
Same, right? So it's the entrepreneur job. It's your business, right? Because if I had to do that, then I would do in my own business. Why would I work for an incubator and do it, right? It's very logical. That's one very big misconception that people come to incubator that, okay, if I go to incubator, I just have to go and relax. No, right? So it's like so yeah, but that, as you said, milestone, so that we work very closely. So the incubator will discuss with the startup. There are monthly meetings. You have to provide monthly progress report. You have meetings with the mentors. We assess your progress. What are the challenges? What support you require? So all that will happen. Just like a trainer would do for you, right? Based on how if you go weight loss or weight gain. So every week the trainer will see whether you're gaining the weight or not, you're losing. Do we need to change your diet? Do we need to change your exercise? But he will not follow the diet for you. You have to follow the diet. He'll just tell you. Right. So that's how the rule of. And if at the end of the gym, you go to gym and join a weight loss program for 6 months, at the end of the 6 months, you don't lose the weight. The trainer
Right.
is not to blame. It's up to you. They did the program, but losing, if you lose it or not, that's up to you. So same way. Otherwise, if every startup would just run to incubator and become a successful startup, right? So incubator is not a magic wand. Simple.
Right.
There's no magic to the incubator. It's just that the incubators bring the startup world is full of madness. Incubation brings in a little bit of method to the madness.
Right.
The structure, a little bit the process, and because we work with so many startups.
Right.
Right? So a lot of problems that you come up with, for you, it could be the first time that problem is coming. It could be unique problem you're facing for the first time. I might have seen 10 startups facing the same problem in the past 10 years that I'm working with.
Right.
So I
And
know if there was a similar startup had the same problem, this is what worked for them. The problems could work for you. So that is how it works, right? Second,
yeah,
yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead.
go
I
now.
just had one question one is, the startup guy comes to you and shares his ideas and the way forward. That is one way where you then select whether it's workable, not workable.
Right.
The second one is whether, if that startup guy is quite convinced that his idea is going to fly, will the incubator also help him with a fee? Saying that you give me the support function, just like a gym trainer. I'm convinced that I have the dedication and the passion, but I need support. How does that work?
Yeah. So that's where the difference is. So see, if the gym guy had unlimited capacity,
yeah,
he would take anybody. But if let's say in my gym I can take only 10 people, right, and I want to ensure that the 10 people I take, I definitely get them to weight loss. Now then I'm going to be selective. I have 100 people coming up, but I don't have the capacity to work with 100 people. So I'm going to work with those people where I feel confident. Just because I don't feel confident in you does not mean, so we normally say that just because we rejected a startup does not mean it's not a good idea. Does not mean that we don't trust the idea. Sometimes it's just a matching. I'll talk about that also in the coming slide. So sometimes we have rejected a startup saying that you're too good for us. right? So वो भी होता है. So we'll talk. I'll that point is also coming up because we do not have the bandwidth, the energy, resources, space, money, manpower to support every startup that comes to us.
But if the startup is ready to pay for your services,
Then it's
whether
not
that
about
service
payment.
comes.
It's not about payment. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You go to a hospital that has 50 beds. All 50 beds are occupied. ठीक है, जगह नहीं है वहां पे, 2 लोग already waiting, and you go and say I'm willing to pay you, admit me.
Right.
Will the hospital be able to do that?
Hmm.
So because they're under constraint, they might want to help you, but they'll say, "Go, dude, I have 50 beds only. I already have 5 people in the waiting. I cannot take you."
Okay.
So just because they're not taking does not mean that they don't want to help you out. It's just because they are constrained by their own limitations.
Okay.
So same with the funding. So again, as I said, the startup the incubator can have their own funding that they can provide. Again, we don't provide funding to every startup we incubate. They can have the government grant that they have from which they can provide the funding, or they can connect you to with other incubator investors and all. But again, the incubator's role is to help you, just like the college's role is to help you get into the placement guy, to the HR, to the companies. But no college will guarantee you कि आपको हम placement दे ही देंगे, ठीक है? Then incubator will provide basically, as I say, all that they're providing, but there is thing that you have to do your own hiring, you have to do your own product building, you have to go and talk to the customers, you have to understand your market, you have to do your research. Incubator will not work for you. Simple. Okay. So operational thing is for the startups. And when I say total independence is because if the incubators, depending upon what model of incubation you're following, in some cases the incubator will get involved in some part of your business, not to control it, but in some extent to make sure that you're on the right stage. So we'll talk about that. When to join an incubator again. So first is that when you need the startup that needs a structure, support, and guidance. If you're ready for that, okay, you think I'm at a stage, I need somebody to give me that guidance and such, right? Second point I'm highlighting, the startup is ready to commit to the incubator. Every incubator will have different program, different way. As I said, 3 months to 2 years, right? The mode of the program is also different. There are some incubators who will have 6 months or 1 year. So every week they will have classes, maybe, or every 15 days there will be a mentoring session. Some will have expect you to come online, or some will expect you to come offline weekly, or once in 3 months you have to come and stay the 3 days in the incubator. Every incubator has a different model. Based on what works for them, they create their own plans, right? So har ek ka apna apna. But whatever it is, they'll have a schedule that, okay, in 3 months, we want you to at least, they'll set up the milestones, because if we are working with you, it cannot be that you came to the incubation program, I rejected 10 other applications to select you, and 6 months you are just chilling around and saying, no, I am not in the mood to work on my startup, I'm just holidaying, I'm vacationing, and after 6 months of the program, I'm still where I was, then it's a waste of my time and energy. I would have rather taken another startup in place of you. So we want to ensure that we give some milestones, and you reach those milestones. It's not like examination that will reject you or we will throw you out of the program, but we want to work together. Ultimately, the goal is that you keep progressing. If after coming into incubation, if you're not following any milestones, if you're not progressing, then what's the point of you in being in the program? Simple. Right? So, and second is, of course, you have to see whether the incubator specializes in the startups industry or sector. Does the incubator also have the capacity, right? So that's why I said the startup comes to me, he's in a medical domain, building some medical device. I straight up say, sorry, I cannot help you because that's not my expertise. You may be amazing startup because I cannot help you anyways in medtech. As of now, in the future, I might have that expertise and all. I can help you in some part of it, but there are a lot of other things that are medical. So there are other incubators that specialize in that domain. I would say better go there. It's just like, if you have throat problem, you don't go to heart surgeon, right? A heart surgeon won't treat your ear, nose, or throat problem. Same way, ENT surgeon won't treat your kidney problems. So that also is there. And are the resources and facilities provided by the incubator aligned with the startup? Now, the next point is when not to join an incubator, right? If you're already established business with stable revenue, right? In that case, as I already said, then you probably might consider an accelerator program, but you don't need an incubator at that stage, right? If you already have, there are startups that, you come from a family background, my entire family is into business. I have access to the mentors. My family may mentoring hai. I have good mentors in my family, my relative, everybody's businessman. They can mentor me. I don't need funding. I don't need any office space. I have good networks because I come from family business. I have good network and good contacts. Then I don't need an incubator. It's fine. So not every startup that needs an incubator. right? If you think, okay, or if you think that, the startup growth is independent, strategy is independent. If you're somebody, I want to lose weight, but I don't want to follow a gym structure. I don't want to follow a trainer. I don't want to follow the diet. I will do it my own. मैं अपना घर पे exercise करूँगा. I'll wake up in my morning. I'll follow the diet on my own. I'll take it from Google. I'll do some app, and I'll follow my own routine. I'll do it fine enough, right? But I don't want somebody, because if you go to gym, then that instructor is going to hammer you. कल क्यों नहीं आया? Why did you, at 50 push-ups you have to do? You're like, no, I don't want anybody to dictate how I will do at my convenience, my leisure. I am not rushing. Okay, I want to lose weight in 6 months, even if it is in 6 years, fine. But I want to be independent. Then an incubator is not a good choice for you. And sometimes, of course, if you're not willing to pay the cost, because see, the thing is free in this world. So if you're like, no, I'm going, but it's costing too much. This is, and sometimes because the services that an incubator typically provides are intangible, right? Most of it. So it's very difficult to put a price tag to it, right? If I'm mentoring you for 1 hour, let's say, what price do you put to it? I say, I'll mentor you. I'll talk to you for 1 hour. You guys, I need 10,000 rupees. Somebody else is doing the same in 2,000 rupees. Somebody else will like 20,000 rupees. What price do you put? You'll say, सर आप 10,000 मांग रहे, वो तो 2,000 में मेंटरिंग करने को तैयार, तीसरा तो फ्री में कर रहा है, चौथा 1 लाख भी ले रहा है. So those things are very difficult to put a tag on. Sometimes the startups are then unable to think, actually understand the value is coming, and they say, no, 1 घंटा बात करने का तो पैसा मांग रहे हैं. Fine. So if that does not suit you, then probably incubation is not for you. Now, choosing an incubator, again, some of your questions will get answered here. If at all you say, okay, I want to go to an incubator, and I think that incubator is something where I should be. I'm at a stage where I need an incubator, right? So one is the sector and domain focus, as I said. So for example, we are focused more on the electric mobility sector, agri-tech, farm tech, or it's something AI, ML, IoT. The reason being because we are part of Mahindra Group, so we have connections in Mahindra Farm Division. We can help with the Mahindra Agri-Tech Division. We can help with Mahindra Mobility. We have Tech Mahindra to support us. So we want to leverage on those. If somebody comes from medical sector, I don't have anything to support them right now. So I'll myself say, no, don't come to me, right? So that you have to seek it. There are certain incubators that are sector agnostic. They work. So right now, though we say we also work with all the sectors. We have startups that are, one startup is in the saloon industry. They are working on hairstyling. We have worked with startups in the cultural domain. We have worked with food startups. So we do take some startups there also, because not every startup expects we should connect them with Mahindra, right? So we can help without that also. But there are startups that are very, so for example, if you go to triple IT incubator in Hyderabad or IIT Hyderabad incubator, they have very, very strong focus on some technology, and they got very good at that. So if you are in those domains, you should try to get there. But again, it's not that easy also. The infrastructure and resources, what infrastructure do you require? So does the, for example, if you're working on some hardware prototype, does the incubator have the resources? If you're working on a artificial AI, ML based thing, you might need a supercomputer access. So there are startups that actually come to me because they say they're already incubated at some other incubator also, but that incubator does not have supercomputer access. So they want to come and incubate with us also because they want to access the supercomputer. So that facilities, whatever you are, does the incubator have that? Does the incubator have the expertise also in those? So do they have mentors and all stuff like that? If it's a tech-based startup, right? So it's better if the incubator is backed by university or a research lab, like as a National Chemical Laboratory or ISA or something, or some IIT or some other university, because then you get access to the professors. And there's a lot. Incubator typically will have smaller lab, only 1 or 2 labs, but the university will have so many labs. And as a startup working in that university incubator, you get access to all those as well, right? Then you have to look at the geographic location also. So where is, is it closer to you? Again, if you want to use the lab, if you want to use their office space, then you need an incubator which is in your city. Of course, if you are based out of Bangalore, you want to go. But then there are two models. There's one is physical incubation. There's virtual incubation also. Virtual is where you don't use the incubation infrastructure facilities. If you are working on a software-based product, or you say, I have my own within my house. I have a space where I can use it as office space. I don't want, but I want the brand name of the incubator. I want to have the mentoring from that incubator. I want to get funding. I want to get connected. So you can get incubated from other city also, and it could be virtual incubation. Because most of the things they happen virtually. Mentoring happens virtually. The interactions happen virtually. Presentations, and then if there's a good event offline, if there's an investor meeting happening or funding something happening, then you can come offline once in a while. So we do have some startups. One in Bangalore, one in Maharashtra. They have incubated virtually with us, because they don't need the space. The one in Maharashtra is already incubated as some other incubator. So that incubator is giving them the office space and lab. So they're using it there. But they wanted our expertise, our mental support, which was stronger. So they incubated. The same is with another Bangalore. But if you want to use that facility, then you'll have to look at an incubator which is close to you. That is important, right? Branding and corporate connect of the incubator, right? So that also is very, very important. Is the incubator known? Is it backed by, some IIT, some IIM, or some good corporate? Is it backed by Google? Is it backed by this Birla Group, for example, or Mahindra Group, or some lot of incubators? So that also has in some way. Then proximity to key markets and partners. In some cases, you also want to find a key incubator that, a lot of so there's a startup that's some young kids who are Indian studying abroad, but they want to come back and they want to incubate in here in Hyderabad, because they want to develop something on the IT side, and they say Hyderabad is the IT hub. So if we are based, we could incubate anywhere in India, in Bangalore, Delhi, but we want to be close. Bangalore, they don't want to go. There's a lot of competition, and Hyderabad is the next best IT hub. So their product, they want to target IT people. So the customers are nearby Hyderabad. So they want an incubator in Hyderabad. So that also is a factor, right? What are the funding opportunities with that incubator, and how strong the incubator's investor connection is? A lot of incubators don't have any connection at all. Some incubators have very good connection. Then comes, what is the incubation duration? Again, right? So as I said, some incubators will have 2 months, 3 months incubation also. Now, do you think that 2 months is enough for you? Within 2 months, 3 months, they're okay, done with the incubation. So do you want, or do you all know, I want a long, at least 1 year, 1.5 year incubation period I want, right? So that you also have to check what is the incubation duration they're offering. What is the engagement framework? So there are some incubators जहाँ पे आपको होगा कि ठीक है, you are incubated once in a month, you will get 1 hour of mentoring बस. So एक बार महीने में आप आओगे, आपका अपॉइंटमेंट होगा, 1 hour you'll talk, उसके अलावा बाकी use the space and all. There are some incubator where there's constant mentoring. So we don't have any specified limit on the number of mentoring hours, right? As when I was at Symbiosis, I only designed the plan. The plan was different. We had a cap, monthly only 10 hours of mentoring, let's say. Here, right now, we are building, because we are a new incubator. We have no such cap. ठीक है. Anybody comes, anybody talks. As far as we are free or the mentor is free, there's constant mentoring happening without any limits. So every incubation has a different engage. Some places there will be weekly mentoring. Then the way they engage, there are some incubators that will say, we will decide the plan and you have to execute that plan. There's some incubators that say, we'll work with you together, we'll come up with a plan, but if you come, it's okay. If you don't like it, that's your. So हर incubator का अपना nature भी होता है. What level do you want them to be involved? Some incubator will involve so much that they start controlling your startup, and some incubator will so not involved that they don't care. ठीक है. So वो आपको देखना है. Then what is the incubation plan? Now incubation plan में there are multiple. I'll show it later. I think the next slide. I'll go to next slide to explain to you. There are 4 different incubation models that work. Right? This will answer some of the questions that why do incubators do this? How do incubators make revenue? So one is service fee. So some incubators work on a service fee model where they'll charge you. So you get into incubation program 6 months, 1 year, whatever. You pay a fee, some 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. There's T-Hub here in Hyderabad that charges 90,000 for a 6 months program. It's a very, very reputed program, very high scale program. So it's worth of that, right? So it's worthy of 90,000. But बहुत high level का program करते वो लोग. So they take 6 months program, I think 90,000 they take. Other incubators take 40,000, 20,000, 10,000, 5,000, depending upon the quality of the incubator or how much they want, their branding, their own status and all. So there will be program fees. Then, but that will be for the duration of 6 months, one year, whatever they are. In that 1 year, they'll provide you mentoring, training, guidance, whatever it is. Then most of these incubators that work on this service fees will also charge you extra for the infrastructure. So if you want to go use their laboratory, you want to use their equipment, you want to go and use their office space, you'll have to pay extra monthly. Again, 4,000, 5,000 per month, whatever, how many seats you want, per seat you have to pay. So that is one model of the incubator. Some incubators work on that model. This is pure service-based model where the incubator has no skin in the game. Whether you succeed, whether you fail, whether you make money or not, the incubator is getting their fixed. It's like I'm renting out an office, right? I rent out an office with a landlord and I start a shop, or I rent out a shop and I start a business. Now the owner does not care whether I'm making money or not, whether my shop is running, whether I'm profitable, I'm going to lose. He at the end of the month, he wants his rent. He has no concern with whether I succeed or not. Simple. If I go, somebody else will come and pay the rent. So that is one model. Second is the equity model. Equity model is where, because a lot of startups in the early stage don't have that much money to pay. 90,000 for the program fees. If you are a team of 4 people, 5,000 per month per person, that's 20,000 per month. Where will you bring that money? Right? So again, for the equipment. So a lot of startups are cash deprived. They don't have the money to pay. So what has emerged is a lot of incubators, especially the government support incubators. We also do that. Work on the equity model. We said, okay, we will not charge you any money. We will take some percentage of share in your company. Right? And it's typically 3 to 6% they will take. Some incubators even take 10%. Right? So what the incubator says, okay, you give me 2%, 3%, 4% share in your company. You don't pay me anything else. I will provide you all the support for the next 1 year, 1.5 year, 2 year, whatever the duration of the program is. Right? In the other equity. Now, the logic here is that if with my support and of course your efforts and your dedication, you are able to become a good company after 3 4 5 years, right? Whatever your valuation is, you are like, let's say 10 crores company, let's say, right? So then out of the 10 crores, I have 3% in your company. I'll sell that. Like when you raise the next round, if you reach that level where an investor comes and buys invest in your company as 5 crores or 10 crores valuation, then my 3%, my 4% will become 30 lakh, 40 lakhs. So whatever services I provide you for 2 years, that 30, 40 lakhs I will get back. And with those 30, 40 lakhs, I'll be able to support the next startup. Remember, as I said, it's a not-for-profit company, most of the incubators. So that 30 lakh, the incubator does not get. They will reinvest with those 30, 40 lakhs that they get from your company, your equity. They'll use it to support 2 more startups. It's paying forward. The idea here is now a lot of startups come and say, okay, why should I pay 3%, 6% to your company? Because in their mind, every startup thinks that in the next 2 years, they're going to become a 100 crore company. Right? So they're like, okay, 2 years, I'll become a 100 crore company. I will give you 3%. That means 3 crores I'm going to give you. What are you providing me for 3 crores? What I don't understand is that the chances of you becoming a 10 crore company, forget 100 crore company, are 5%. This 5%, less than 5% chance that you even survive after 3 years as a startup. Forget about becoming a 100% company. So 20 startups that we work, if I onboard 20 startups and if I take 3% equity in 20 startups, at the end of 3 years, 1 or 2 of them will be a startup that reaches 10 to 20 crores. Half of them would have shut down. Right? Half of them would they barely survive. So that 1 or 2 now, if you imagine those 2 startups, if I have 3%, I'm getting 60 lakhs or 1 crore from those startups. But those 1 crore, I have to recover all the other 20 startups that I've helped. It's same way that the investors work. If you go to angel investor, the VC, same logic. They invest in you and they know that the 10 out of 10 startups that they invest in, 8 or 9 will not succeed. Only one will succeed. One will become a huge success. And that one will make up for all the 9 they're done. Same with the stock market. If you're into stock market, when I invest in 10 shares, I know 4 or 5 of them might bomb, might go down, but other shares will make up for it. So that is by that logic that this incubators works. So you don't give the money. And second is, at this stage, when you're going to the incubator, your company is worth 0. Initially, there is no valuation to your company. You don't have a product. You have not figured out your market yet. You don't know whether this will work. You are not even sure after 1 year whether you'll continue working this startup or you'll say, oh, it's not working 1 year. Has happened with us. So many startups at Symbiosis we used to work, and then after 1 year, they'll come and say, sir, it's not working. I'm going to take up a job. I'm closing the company. Now, after me supporting you for 1 year, 2 years, you close the company. What do I get out of those 3%? 0. Nothing. So whatever support we have provided for those 1.5 years, that's all gone to drain. The moment you decide to close the company, you don't get anything out of it, right? So that's the risk that the incubator also is taking. The second thing is, so that is one reason that they take the equity, because you don't have anything to pay. Second is when the incubator takes the equity, now the incubator becomes a partner in your business. My 3%, my 6%, my 2%, my 10% will have any value only if your business has some value. If your business becomes 10 crores only, then my 10% becomes 1 crore. If your business is just 10 lakh rupees or 1 lakh rupees of value, my 10% about 5,000, 10,000 rupees. That's I'm going to pay per day to a mentor for you. Right? So now the investor, the incubator has a skin in the game. The incubator has a vested interest to make sure that they help you grow. Because if you grow, the incubator makes money. If you don't grow, it's your loss is their loss. Right? So any incubator that is working on equity model will go over and above what they have committed to you to ensure that you succeed. Because the incubator team also has to report to their board of directors. Right? The incubator also has to report to the government that we give you so many grants, 10 startups came to you, out of them, how many have succeeded? And if I say our 10 startups are funded from the government, I supported, all 10 have shut down, then I'm going to lose my grants also. Right? So here it's where the incubator has some kind of a skin in the game that they will work, as you said. So they will now again try. So if you're doing something wrong, if the incubator team feels no, your direction is wrong, your market sizing is wrong, they will come into picture and they'll try to sit with you and try to make you understand, no, you're doing this wrong. Because they want you to succeed. Only when you make 1 rupee, the incubator makes 10 paisa out of it. Simple logic, right? So as against the service fees with the incubator has no skin. आप जीते जियो बंद करते मतलब मेरा पैसा मंथली मिलना चाहिए बस इट्स लाइक अ रेंट ठीक है देन देयर आर इंक्यूबेटर्स दैट वर्क ऑन द रेवेन्यू शेयरिंग यूजुअली एक्सीलेटर्स वर्क ऑन द रेवेन्यू शेयरिंग बिकॉज इंक्यूबेटर में तो जो स्टार्टअप आता है उसका रेवेन्यू होता ही नहीं है तो एक्सीलेटर्स समटाइम्स वर्क ऑन द रेवेन्यू शेयरिंग दैट ओके विल नॉट शेयर एनीथिंग वी विल नॉट टेक इक्विटी इन योर कंपनी बट इतने अगले 1 साल 2 साल 3 साल व्हाटएवर इज डिसाइडेड टर्म्स तक व्हाटएवर रेवेन्यू यू मेक बिकॉज ऑफ आवर हेल्प सम परसेंट ऑफ द रेवेन्यू यू विल हैव टू पे अस Then there's the success fees, especially if it is when you have service based incubation model. So there's a hybrid model. So you charge service also, you charge. So service based incubator, what they'll do is they'll say, okay, I have 50,000 rupees program fee. I'll not charge 50,000 to you. I'll charge only 10,000. But then I will take some revenue sharing. Or I will charge only 50, instead of 50,000, I'll charge only 10,000. But then if with my support, you're able to raise some money, let's say you raise 1 crore rupees from investor, I will take 2% of that or 4% of that. Right? But then that money you have to pay only when you're getting in money from the investor. So the startup also is like, okay, ठीक है, अगर 1 crore मिलता है investor से आपको दे देंगे 2 lakh रुपए, क्या फर्क है? Right? So some incubators work on that, and then hybrid model also is there. Okay? There are some start incubator के they'll say, okay, हम 3% equity नहीं लेंगे, हम 1% equity लेंगे, but हम थोड़ा fees भी लेंगे, हम थोड़ा ये भी करेंगे. Multiple models. Right? So we, as of now, we at the Mahindra work purely on the equity model, and our equity is much less. It's much below 3% actually. We are one of the lowest equity stake in the country. That's the reason I get so many applications. Because if I charge 3 to 4%, itna log nahi aayenge. Everybody is charging 3 to 4%. I'm charging 1.5 to 2%. So people want, but then I cannot support everybody. And if I'm charging so less, I want to make sure. See, if I'm charging 10%, then even if your valuation is 10 crores, I get 1 crore.
Hmm.
Right?
Is there
But
any standard application form which
there is
minimum requirement?
there is right.
Okay.
If I'm charging 10%, even if you become a 1 crore 10 crore startup, I get 1 crore. But if I'm taking only 1%, then for me to make 1 crore, you have to become a 100 crore startup. So then I have to work only with that startup where I think मैं इतना कम ले रहा हूँ तो वो startup इतना potential वाला चाहिए तभी मैं काम करूंगा. So that's where we work. Okay, so that was the model. So I was talking about. Then you also have to see that executive team. What is the team? Who's the leading the team? Who's the heading the incubator? What are their incubation managers? Their senior manager. There's a CEO. What is their background? What is their expertise? What is their network? Because जितना strong उनका network होगा उस team का उतना आपको connect कर पाएंगे. Simple सी बात है, right? So if is that CEO, is that incubator manager known outside the incubator? If you go to 10 other incubators or 10 other professional activity and you tell this person is Ismail Akbani, for example, out of 10, at least do 3 of them recognize that person. Okay, yes, we know. Right? अगर उस incubator के बाहर उनको कोई नहीं जानता तो वो आपको क्या ही connect करवाएगा. So that's very important, right? And then empathy, how empathetic are those people with you, right? Because as I said, the incubator, somebody asked, does the incubator provide only moral support? No, not only moral support, but moral support is one of the things. There are startups that come and literally cry in front of us. घर में वाइफ के साथ लड़ाई हो जाती है, आके रोते हैं कि सर कल वो मीटिंग है, इन्वेस्टर मीटिंग है, आज घर में झगड़ा हो गया, क्या करो? So we become the sounding board. I have to become, because tomorrow is going to investor, उसको 10 crore मिलेगा, मेरा 2% है, मेरा 20 लाख रुपए है, तो मेरे को सुनना है उसको. इफ आई डोंट लिसन टू हिम और उसका वो बॉम्ब कर देगा कि लूजेस दैट मनी, मेरा 20 लाख गया. सो आई हैड स्टार्टअप कॉलिंग मी रात 1 बजे 2 बजे रात में कि सर अभी 11 बजे मेल आया, टुमारो मॉर्निंग 9 AM आई एम प्रेजेंटिंग, कैन यू हैव अ लुक एट माय प्रेजेंटेशन. 2 बजे 2:30 बजे रात में वी आर डन जूम मीटिंग्स विद देम again, and at the end they are very thankful, sir, thank you so much. I said, I'm not doing it for you, I'm doing for my equity in your startup, because if you go and get that money, right, it's like I also hold a share, so I have to do it for you, right? So that empathy level has to have, okay, is, to what level are they, can you establish that personal connection with them? I was at Bangalore, there's a startup I talked about, it was Bangalore. They insisted, sir, come to our house. So I traveled almost 1 hour, one and a half hour Bangalore traffic, 1.5 घंटा one side, because I wanted to go and meet their family. कि ठीक है, startups incubated, you should, that connection has to be built. It's very important, because 2 years, if you're becoming partner with them, and if the relation only professional दूर का, then it doesn't help. So you should be somebody you could cry, you could call and talk about anything. मेरे घर में issue हो गया, because sometimes there are issues that will happen in your startup journey and you have nobody to share with, right? So at least the incubation team should be somebody जिसका क्या frankly बोल सको. You can establish that connection, right? If not everybody in the team, but her team में 4-5-6 लोग होंगे उस team में, at least one of the team members should be like that. What is the mentor pool at the incubator? Very important, because mentors are going to contribute massively to your thing. So what kind of mentors do they have? A lot of incubators I have seen, जो academic incubators होते हैं, उनका mentor website खोलोगे, 80% mentor उनके faculty members ही होते हैं. That is the professors. Now, nothing against them. We also have some professor mentor, but this professor we bring in them as technology mentors, because they know the technology. They are R&D people. They do the research. They are not good business mentors. खुद का बिजनेस नहीं किया. सो वाइल यू नीड देम, बट यू ऑल्सो नीड, अगर वही प्रोफेसर से मैं बिजनेस मेंटरिंग भी करवाने लग जाऊंगा, फिर तो हो गया, चल गया बिजनेस तमाश. Right? So you have to see what kind of mentors are there. Are there investors on the board of mentors? Right? Are there real entrepreneurs on the board of mentors? What kind of expertise they bring? And of course, what is the credibility of that incubator? 2% मैंने दे दिया, कल को बंद तो नहीं हो जाएगा इंक्यूबेटर. रियल फैक्ट्स बता रहा हूँ, ठीक है. 6% इक्विटी दे दिया, कल को इंक्यूबेटर भाग गया तो right? What second is, what is the financial stability of the incubator? Because a lot of incubators, as I said, depend on the government grants. Now what happens, government matters, you know, अभी देखो 6 महीने से हमारा ग्रांट नहीं आया, 7-8 महीने से, because election बीच में आ गया, कुछ ये हो गया, कुछ वो हो गया, so this grant, the funding from the government will get delayed for 6 months, 8 months. Now if the incubator is dependent only on the grant, 6 months they don't have the money. अब उनके पास पैसा ही नहीं, आपका क्या हेल्प करेंगे? आप जाके बोलो सर मेंटरिंग चाहिए, बोलोगे मेंटर को देने का पैसा नहीं मेरे पास, रुक जाओ 2 महीना. Getting my point. So, incubator that is backed by a strong body, especially private. So, for example, us, we don't have. Recently, Mr. Anand Mahindra announced that he's giving some 500 crores to Mahindra University from his personal office because this is a dream project. So, for us, और lot of other incubators, I'm not talking only us, but there are a lot of other private incubators, T-Hub हो गया, कुछ ऐसे incubators जिनके पास पैसों की कमी नहीं है. तो इनको फाइनेंशियल स्टेबिलिटी का टेंशन नहीं है कि अगले 5 साल तक के गवर्नमेंट से पैसा नहीं आएगा तो हमारा काम रुक जाएगा, तो स्टार्टअप सफर करेंगे. बट देयर आर सम छोटा मोटा इंक्यूबेटर्स लाइक दैट आल्सो, दे आर टोटली डिपेंड ऑन द फंड, सो यू हैव टू सी दैट आल्सो. कल को अगर इनका फंड नहीं आया तो फिर हमारा क्या? सो अगेन वेरी वेरी फ्यू ऑफ देम आर लाइक दैट, नॉट मच. आई थिंक हार्डली 2-5% ऐसे इंक्यूबेटर्स होंगे, मोस्टली तो नहीं होता. एंड of course the government fund, if not today, tomorrow it comes. So it's not the matter of whether it will come or not, but kabhi kabhi because of this process is a lot of accounting and वो public money है, तो एक एक रुपए सी गवर्नमेंट साइड से भी जो ऑफिशियल है उसको भी एक एक रुपए का हिसाब रखना होता है, वो टैक्स पेयर का मनी आपको दे रहा है, राइट? सो दैट टेक्स टाइम समटाइम्स. उस टाइम में फिर क्या होता है, कभी कभी डिले हो जाते हैं प्रोसेस, व्हिच इज समटाइम्स नॉट इन फेवर ऑफ सम स्टार्टअप्स. यू हैव टू सी दैट आल्सो कि कहीं ऐसा तो नहीं होगा. ठीक है. बाकी क्या है? I think we have covered most of the things. Yeah. So this one another thing, a lot of times you see that interesting that the fastest, the straight the line is not always the fastest. So when you run on your own, कभी कभी लगता है कि नहीं, I don't need any trainer, gym trainer, I don't need any incubator, I don't need any mentor. I know my path, I'll straight away run. I'll reach faster. When you go to incubator, sometimes you will take the नीचे वाला journey. Because आप जाके बोलोगे I want to sell the product in the market, कल the incubator will say नहीं नहीं नहीं, we are not happy. अभी you first go and do more market survey. So when a new young, especially when these 18-20-year-old kids come to us for the startup, I tell them, if you go to learn a guitar, you know, I did guitar, come in a class join किया था. When you go to learn guitar, they don't teach you how to play a tune on the first day. For first 1 week or 2 weeks, all that they teach you is how to just plug those strings. You're just sitting with the guitar 1 hour every day, just touching the strings. That's it. Not a single tune for the first 2 weeks. Now, if you go and say, no, first, the second day, I should be playing a song on the guitar. Sorry, not happening. So sometimes the incubator will also force you to do that. You want to play the song, fine, but first focus on your fundamentals, because we have seen people rushing through, skipping those fundamentals. So वो जो journey है ना, वो नीचे से ज़्यादा दिखता है, and that feels sometimes, I should have gone like this, but the incubator is actually bringing me down. But in the long run, it actually speeds up your journey if you go that way. Right. So now just a quick thing about, because there are a couple of questions about how Mahindra helps and all. So we are at an incubation center supported by Government of India, as always, a separate section company established by Mahindra University. Mahindra University in turn is backed by Tech Mahindra Group, established by Tech Mahindra Group, and with Mr. Anand Mahindra as the Chancellor of the university, he is the Chairman of the Board of Governors of the university as well. So again, as we talked about everything, typically we have business mentoring, technical mentoring, compliance services, office space, lab, and stuff like that. This is a typical some of the infrastructure that we have, as I say. So you have co-working spaces, you can see, you have kind of labs, you have this entire tree that you see is our co-working space, actually, private cabins, prototyping lab, brainstorming zone, library, stuff like that.
Do you have anything in Mumbai?
No, we have only in Hyderabad. So I'll just show a quick video, also small video, to just have a glimpse of the facilities we have here. That's a co-working space where startups will sit and work. These are private cabins, as I said. Some startups will do private cabins as well. This is a laboratory space. That's one of our startups, actually. That was the inauguration. So that was some of the when we inaugurated some of this. What you saw towards the end was some of our startups who were interacting. So we had Mr. Roni Screwwala here and GMR Group chairman. Mr. Anand Mahindra was here. So some of the startups got the opportunity to actually present the startup ideas to all three of them. Mr. Mahindra also interacted with some of them. That's the network part of it. So again, this is if somebody was asking for the link and all. So this is the LinkedIn page, and if you scan this QR code, you get to a small digital card of the incubator where all the links for application, anything you want is over there. You can take a photo, scan later. I think we're done. If there are any questions, I'll take those questions and yeah. What else? So, okay, how do assess incubator? Most of them call. So again, incubator, see, there are very right question. There are a lot of people who started, no, 3, 4 people come together and they say we are starting incubator because there's no restriction, formal legal stuff defining an incubator. You can also tomorrow start a company and say, okay, we are running an incubator. But typically, incubator has to be proper organization. So we just like we are registered as a separate private limited company. There has to be infrastructure, there has to be space, there has to be a proper team, and everything. If that's there, there's nothing wrong. Second is see at the end of the day, it's about are you getting support? So there are a lot of incubators that as Founder Institute, for example, Silicon Valley based incubator. I'm a mentor there as well, right? So they work across the globe. They have chapters and they do just these programs, right? But they don't have typical office or stuff like that. So if you have startups that have gone through certain programs of some incubators and they have helped them, doesn't matter who's backing them, doesn't matter what the name of the incubator. If it's helping you out, it's ultimately at the end of the day, it's what they are contributing to you.
Just taking that question forward, if I have to ask a direct question, who is the competitor of AIC Mahindra?
Okay, there's no competitor for us to be honest, because we don't work with that. We very nice question, but I come from that belief, and we have some of us that in the incubation space, at least we don't have a competition. And there are a few reasons whenever I say it. It's not just a statement. One is that competition is where I have to okay, मेरे को market share खाना, मेरे को पैसा कमाना. We are not here for the sake of making money. The first, the equity also I say, we charge the equity or the fees, whatever. The reason we charge is because if I have 20 startup this year, the government is going to fund me for next 3 to 4 years, 5 years. It's the government is not going to fund me forever, right? The university is not going to fund me forever. So the incubator, the idea is that 3 to 4 years initially the incubator does not need support. So the government will give money, operation expenses. Within 4 to 5 years, the incubator is supposed to become self-sustainable. That means the incubator should be able to generate its own revenue to manage its own operations, expenses, salaries, rent, and all. So how do I do that? So first 4 5 years for the startups that are support. After 5 years is when the startups will start growing, and I'll encash those equity. And when I out of 21 or 2, I'll encash, I'll get 2 crores, 3 crores. Those 2 3 crores I'll run for 1 more year or 2 more years, and then one more startup will come, and then I'll sell that equity. That's how it's going to work. The ultimate that's the goal. The very idea of even taking equity or money from the startup is not to make profit. It's just so that that money can help us continue once the government grant is over, once the government support is over, we can still continue our work and help more startups. So if that's the agenda, then there's no competition. Second is the incubation space is so nascent and there's such a huge space. I mean, if you compare the number of startups out there, number of people who want to start up, number of people who want help, and the number of incubators that are there, there's a huge gap. I mean, we have space for even 100 times more incubators in the country probably right now. So there's enough for everybody. There's no, as I said, मेरे पास 5 startup का है वो cohort I'm taking. I got 150 applications.
Okay.
And those 150 is all organic. There's not a single rupee spent on that. It's just the LinkedIn post from our AIC ka page and my personal LinkedIn profile page. That's it. We just posted it. There's not a single rupee spent on those applications or marketing. Right?
No.
So that's the space we are operating. So I don't think there's any need for competing. And third is, in fact, we look at incubation as a space where it's collaboration. As I said, there are startups that are incubated with other incubators also. They come and incubate with us also. There are startups that are incubated with me and they come and say, I want to incubate somewhere else. I'm like, fine. If there is something that I'm not able to help you with, that other incubator can help you with, that's fine, because ultimately with their help, you will grow. If you will grow, my equity will also grow.
Okay.
So we work, in fact, we work all the time. Third is there are now out of this 150 applications that I have, there are going to be some applications that will be not so good. We'll reject them because we don't see sincerity or something. There will be some applications that are very good, but we still reject them because we, for example, as I said, some health tech ka startup hoga. I cannot help them because I don't have capability. But I know incubators that work in healthcare development. So I'm actually going to ask these people when they come to present. At the end, I'll say, see, you're a good startup, but I cannot help you. But I know some incubators. If you give permission, I will share your details with that incubator. They will reach out to you and you can talk to them. Right? So we do that all the time. Okay? Because ultimately my purpose is to help the startup. It doesn't matter whether I help or somebody else helps.
Right. Can you share the application form and the details that you typically require?
Application form, as I share this now, this is my personal, I think, QR code. So if you go here, this QR, say, if you go to the link over there, AIC Mahindra ka page, or on this page, you will see we'll find the application link there.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me see, are there any other questions? ठीक है. So patenting is a different domain. We don't do patenting ourselves. There are for patenting, there are patent agents and lawyers. So you have to actually suggest that you reach out to somebody. We have some people we are in connection with who can help you do with the uh, uh, lower charges. But I think that's the legal stuff that's better left to experts rather than we trying to just save some money, but then ultimately ending up into some trouble. So I also share the link to a feedback form for the session, right? So I would just be happy if you can just share some of the feedback. I think some people have already left, but still, just a Google form to capture the feedback of the session. I run a jute bag manufacturing company. Can I get an incubator? You can get an incubator that works with those kind of a business. We don't work with that kind of businesses, sorry. So because we need some tech element. As I said again, so it's not for me. कंपटीशन की बात हो रही थी, कंपटीशन तब होता है कि जब हर स्टार्टअप आ रहा है, मेरे को इसको भी इंक्यूबेट करना है, उसको भी इंक्यूबेट करना है, हम तो खुद ही मना करते हैं कि बस नहीं करना है, वी डोंट हैव दैट स्पेस, so क्या compete करोगे, right? So jute bag, no, but I can connect you with some incubators that might be interested to incubate you. Okay, good. I think most of the questions I have taken. Any questions left? Let me see.
Do you have any incubator, who can help on psychology counseling as well as on coaching, level-wise coaching type of activities?
Bangalore में है. Where are you based out of?
I'm from Mumbai.
मुंबई में साइकोलॉजिकल कोचिंग. मुंबई में specifically psychological coaching तो I don't know. Bangalore में.
Psychology as well as coaching means both sides, like level-wise for each company as you
So
change
see
your
again,
own.
the incubator, when you say the incubator need not be an expert in that. ठीक है,
Yeah.
it's your domain. You cannot expect an incubator to be expert
No.
in every business domain. Within psychology, there are so many things. They cannot possible, right? So that is your knowledge. उसका psychological theories क्या होगा, how the coaching levels, that the incubator is not going to help you.
Right. Right.
You have to see what kind of a business support I need for that. So, for example, do I need mentors from that background? No, not in anybody. Even I don't work with psychology, but if I know somebody in the psychology domain, I can connect you as a mentor. So in that case, it can help you. Mentors तो क्या होता है, हर एक के पास कोई ना कोई psychology वाला तो हर किसी को जान पहचान में होता है.
Right.
Do I have, for example, what kind of a coaching are you talking about? So is it for students?
Yeah.
Then you should not specifically look for incubator that's working on psycho. It's very small, very narrow topic. You will not find any incubator. You have to look at a broader domain. What are the incubators that work with edtech domain? Because in education domain, right? So incubators that work in the education space, they would have connections with schools, they would have connections with colleges that can help you with your pilot testing, field trial, the validation of things.
Yeah.
So those kind of incubators you should look. If you go and say कि psychological coaching वाला चाहिए तो नहीं मिलेगा कोई.
Yeah. Or even hospitals for that matter.
Incubators that are backed by hospitals. So वही बता रहा था, बैंगलोर में एक है डर्बी फाउंडेशन करके है. Good. I knew the CEO, she now left, but they have their own hospital and also they do well. In fact, you can check Symbiosis incubator also. Symbiosis also, I don't know who's there. I left 2 years ago, but वहाँ पे भी Symbiosis पे when I was there, we had some people who we are helping, not exactly on this, but there's a startup that we are incubated in Symbiosis. It's in the social emotional learning. They're working on child psychology, or they're building some psychological tools for learning of from the not from the coaching or mental health perspective, from the normal day-to-day schooling perspective of the children. So there's a concept called social emotional learning.
Okay.
That is a startup. Symbiosis, we had incubated Siddesh karke banda, young guy. He was our own student, MBA वहीं से किया Symbiosis से. And we connected him to Symbiosis schools because Symbiosis has a lot of schools also. So we connected him to the head of the Symbiosis schools, and now they were doing some pilots in the Symbiosis schools also, last I heard.
Right. Right. Fine. Thank you.
Okay, I think we're done with the most of the questions. We are done with the time also.
Yes, I
Time
think,
to wrap up.
yeah, now I think there is no question as such.
Yeah, I was actually telling Dr. Sunita that 90 minutes बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाएगा खत्म, but
True, true, true. We were discussing it.
I
It,
told her
it
कि
should
90
be,
minutes से बहुत ज़्यादा होगा,
yeah,
2 घंटा कौन सुनने वाला है, but the kind I think
true,
we had some people who were इतना सारा questions. Good, it kept the questions kept it
obvious.
interactive also, otherwise it becomes boring in 2 hours.
Yes, obviously, and people can connect you afterwards also, as you have shared your details.
Mhm.
And okay, coming to the end of the session, obviously, see, just to conclude the session, sir has given us very insightful things, his own experience. He even explained the real life conditions, the real life examples too. But what we feel so as an academician to grow or to get a success in any special any area rather, obviously there is a dedication is needed, your own self motivation is needed, and with this obviously you can get a success throughout. So thank you Mr. Akbani for sharing your expertise and providing such a valuable information. I think your contribution to the entrepreneurial ecosystem are truly inspiring, and we are truly grateful to have you here today. Even we extend our gratitude to all engaging participants for their active engagement and for the questions. So thank you for your participation. We look forward to seeing you at your next event. Thank you.